Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hope you had a great weekend. We are back at it on Winnipeg Sports Talk for another week on an absolutely glorious Monday here in Winnipeg in mid-August. Great to have you all with us. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. And, of course, I already missed the Olympics. That's it. It's over. What an incredible couple of weeks we had from Paris. Certainly some amazing Canadian sports stories and world sports stories coming out of the weekend in the last couple of weeks. We will touch on that. And a favorite of ours on the show, AJ Jakubec, who you know normally as the voice of the Ottawa Redblacks. AJ is also the biggest and most committed fan I know of Canada soccer, travels around the world following our men's national team and our women's national team. And it just so happened that the Red Blacks bye week happened to be during the Olympics. And AJ was in Paris for 10 days, went to literally everything, and came back just in time to call that bizarre 22-22 tie between the Red Blacks and the Rough Riders on Thursday night. So AJ's going to join us. We'll really talk mostly about the Olympic Games, being there, so many of our great Canadian performances. We'll also get to a little bit of CFL. And then later on, we'll have the Hammer join us. And normally we'd spend a lot of time talking Bombers. The Bombers are off. We will talk about the Bombers situation, though, looking ahead to the second half of the season after the Lions lost again, the Stamps lost, the Riders tied, and the Bombers look pretty darn good coming out of the bye at 3-6 after that 25-0 shutout of the BC Lions. So all of that coming up. We will also, at the end of the program, we will get to the Coolbet lines, but we're also going to do our marble race to see who is joining myself, Darren Bombing, and a whole bunch of you heading to Regina for the Labor Day Classic with the crew 1930. We've had Coolbetters submitting their CFL bets over the last number of weeks. We've been picking qualifiers each week. This afternoon, at the end of the program, we will be getting it ready and doing a special marble race for everyone that qualified to see who's going to win that trip. And hey, speaking of Coolbet as well, mark this down, gang. A week tomorrow, the first ever WST, EST, Lock Shop Poker Night is going down. I'll give you details on that, but it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. Myself, Dustin Nielsen, hopefully Remis, a couple of the EST guys are going to be in it as well. It's a €20 buy-in, so it's going to be a $30 tourney. There will be an opportunity for a rebuy in the first 8 rounds, 8 blind levels. And they've already put a $100 bounty on my head and Dustin Nielsen's head. And there'll probably be one on Remis's head, too, by the time we get there. So we'll let you know. I think for this week, we'll have the link for the tournament in the description of the video. So if you're checking it on YouTube afterwards, we'll also put it out on our socials. But if you do like online poker, Coolbet's got a great platform. We're doing a special tourney with WST listeners, EST listeners, and lock shoppers a week tomorrow. Going to be starting at 9 p.m. Winnipeg time, 8 p.m. in Edmonton. Really, really looking forward to that. Just before we get going, a huge thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, Garage Living Winnipeg, who's the presenting sponsor of CFL 110, along with our great friends at Coolbet. Of course, Princess Auto, Rollies Transfer, Consolidated Supply, and Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, The Beer Can, along with Next Door and Hogy Boys, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, the red-hot Winnipeg Goldeyes, who are coming back home this week, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Assiniboia Downs. We will wrap the PGA Tour regular season, I guess, in a golf report for Breezy Bend, and we will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Let's get to it. Welcome to everybody in chat. Shout out to you podcast listeners. And welcome in Michael Remis. What's going on?
Man, I'm just checking out the Coolbet poker platform. You sent me the link. I'm going to text all my friends that this is happening, Huss. I'm very excited for that. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's going to be real fun. We've been waiting for it. And I think this one, just so people know, this is our first kind of foray into it. But I think we're going to have some good response. I mean, we've certainly heard there's a lot of people that were interested that wanted to try it out and play with us. And I think what the plan is that we're going to do this event. We'll get feedback if there's any tweaks we need to make. And then coming into the fall and winter, we're going to pick 4 or 5 dates where the Jets and Oilers are both off and do a bit of a series for 4 or 5 nights with the opportunity to win your way in, like some big prizes from our friends at Coolbet on top of everything that's happening in the poker tourney. But would love to have you all join us for that first one. Again, a week tomorrow. So Tuesday, August 20th, 9 p.m. Winnipeg time, 8 p.m. Edmonton time. And again, it's not going to be, a tourney that you have to be in for 5 or 6 hours. I mean, we'll have the blind limits move quickly enough that, we'll sort of be looking at, if you want to win this thing, it's probably in between 2 to 3 hours. But again, we'll have more details on that. Check out the link. You can join in, reserve your spot right now. And we'll go from there. So yes, save the date, a week tomorrow. How was the weekend though overall? What a gorgeous day yesterday. And I think this entire week, perfect with the baseball team coming back. It'd be nice to have a Bomber game. We got to wait till Sunday night for the Bombers to play the BC Lions. But we're getting a nice blast this summer right now. It'll be a great time to get out. But man, it was beautiful. It just got better and better throughout the week. And yesterday was one of the nicest days of the year.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Got out to the zoo, got some playground action, some barbecuing outside. So it was, great week. And I thought, we thought maybe summer was over when it had that cold day mid last week. But no, I asked my smart speaker this morning, high of 27 today. So there we go, Huss. So soak it in while you can because, it's almost September, almost football season. But hey, let's enjoy the last bit of summer. Great weather here.
This week looks amazing. I mean, 28 special today, 29 tomorrow, some cloud on Wednesday and 26, and then 27, 27, 26, 27, sunny every day. The absolute perfect sweet spot. Not too hot, perfect summer weather. Great time to get out on the golf course or take advantage of it. And I guess we'll have some more time to go out right now because the Olympics are over. What are we going to do now?
I put on first of all, it was the perfect week with the Bombers being off. Like the Olympics in the summer. Like I think, was it Hacksaw who said we need this like every 2 years? Because this week every year in the summer is terrible. There's no sports. It's just baseball. CFL is only a couple days a week. Like why not have something more often that highlights all these great athletes? But I sat down on the couch to watch like the Olympic recap show, thinking they would have something on the closing ceremonies, whatever CBC's recap show is. There was nothing. I was so bummed out last night. Some major Olympic withdrawal. And even this morning, I've been taking my tablet and just having it on while eating breakfast, getting ready for this. It's on here. And I just was like, well, I guess I don't need this anymore. There's nothing on. It's terrible. So the Olympics, it was awesome. What a great 2 weeks. Flew by. So many great moments for Canada, world moments, viral moments. I think this was a huge success, and maybe it was because last year was the delayed a year, and they didn't have any fans there. Maybe this year was in Paris, better time zone, historic city. I think the interest was certainly there, and it was something that everyone was getting into, and everyone talked about it, and the ratings certainly reflect that.
Yeah, it was amazing. You just mentioned your laptop. I've just pulled this up and fired up the CBC Gem app.
Yeah, what's on there? Is there anything on there?
So, well, yes, apparently. Now you can still explore the games and replay every moment. So, there's probably a lot of events that I have no idea what happened. Maybe we'll just go to some of the things that we missed and watch them not knowing what's going to happen. And get a few more days out of the Olympic Games. They've got a lot of closing ceremony stuff. And then once the Olympics are completely behind us, then we're just looking at things like a new season of Plan B. Fisherman is in trouble. Louder milk. Better things. Reservation dogs. Killing Eye. And of course, Old Faithful for the kids, Paw Patrol.
Nice.
I have a feeling
Season
the
10.
downloads of the gem might be a little bit less. But I will say this. Canada, we are so lucky. Like that, the presentation and the way that these games were broadcast for Canadians, I think was just, I mean, it was 5-star. There was so much available for us. If there was something you really wanted to watch, you just fired up the app and fired it up and, really saw it commercial free. And then, with the advancement, I mentioned this right off the bat, what really got me, especially in the pool, the technological advancements to see how fast the swimmers were going at a certain time. I mean, it was phenomenal. And then, Remo, and my moment of the entire games for Canada was the 4-1 win. I mean, again, and I was talking about this today on the Lock Shop. They were 50-1 to win the gold. I would be surprised if there was any gold medalist that won at the Olympic Games in Paris that was a longer shot than our Canadian 4x1 team. And Mark Lee, we talked about it on Friday, had that incredible call of DeGrasse going across the finish line and winning it. I must have listened to the French version. Like Mike mentioned it on Friday. On the weekend, we listened to that easily a dozen times. I mean, it was... there was some greatness of the athletes. There was certainly greatness of the broadcasters. The entire package was so good. And honestly, like you said, I don't really know what we're supposed to do now this week other than get outside and enjoy what should be some great weather.
Great weather. I mean, it's live racing at Assiniboia Downs. Back Monday to Wednesday, as you said, the Goldeyes returning home this week. Big bobblehead giveaway on the weekend. So there's some local things. But yeah, as far as TV... I mean, I was glued sitting down. Even if I had seen the events or knew what happened during the day, I was happy to watch it again. I think I watched the Loop on Saturday, so like 3 times. I saw the 4x400, which women's, which was an incredible domination by the Americans. But yeah, I watched it a lot. I was talking about it with everyone. It was very big in my household. And maybe I will go back and look at some of the events that I didn't watch. I was trying to think of. I didn't see any of the sport climbing. I didn't see any of like wind surfing or surfing. I didn't see a lot of the canoe, kayak events. There's a lot I didn't see. So maybe I could go on the Gem app and just have a third week of reruns here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what we need to do. I'll tell you what, you want to watch something cool on a replay. Check out the kiting, which was those massive, I guess, kites. They look almost like parachutes, and those guys on those surfboards that are like 5 or 6 feet out of the air. That was one of the coolest things that I've seen. I mean, the sailing, and again, the broadcast showing how fast they're going, the directions and stuff. It was so neat. I did watch some of the sport climbing. Certainly the medal rounds was incredible. They're getting up those walls in less than 5 seconds. It was so good. Now, listen, we've got a couple lists. Remo, you've got the viral moments. I have a top 10.
Sure.
I have a top 10 of the best of Canada at the Olympic Games. Kind of the 10 best achievements, victories, wins, if you will. I'll go from 10 to 1. Number 10 is the Wiz. Phil Wizard winning gold in breaking. This on its own as a gold medal would probably be higher up on the list. Breaking, how do I say this? Listen, the people that were doing it, the breakers, the B-boys and B-girls, very, very talented. Still very borderline as far as an Olympic sport. But the reason why it was even more impressive is that he literally had to redeem the entire sport and movement from being embarrassed in the way that it was by Ray Gun the day before, Reem. I mean, there was like for people that are serious about this and want it to be taken legitimately and respected, the guys, and in particular the eventual gold medalist, our guy Phil Wizard, had a lot on their shoulders, and the guys put on a great show.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a skill gap there with the breakdancing. The top guys, like Phil Wizard and was it the American guy and the guy he went up against in the final, the French guy. I mean, and even the top women, what was her name? 617, who got bronze, or
671.
671. I think I'm confusing with Rey Mysterio. But I mean, the top ones were very good, very athletic. It was awesome. There was a bit of a gap between. They had a ranking. There was a bit of a gap, and yeah, the Australian woman Reagan, elite name. I mean, then I love how they have like their stage names.
That's
there.
Dr. Reagan to
Yeah,
you.
Dr. Reagan. Yeah, went viral for some of her dance moves for the wrong reasons. So I agree with you. I mean, Phil Wizard is the first one. It's not in the next Olympics. They played it. It was one of the final sports too. They played it all day Friday. So congrats to him. And he was very emotional when they played the anthem after. It was a great moment for Canada, winning the first and maybe only breaking gold medal ever.
Well, and it was cool. I mean, his father, I saw the interview with his family. His father had never seen him perform before the weekend, as he wasn't getting into the ciphers and the other battles in and around the Vancouver area or the top on the breaking scene. But it was great. So anyways, the Wiz Gold does make the list. Breakdancing maybe holds it down a bit, but as I said, there was a lot that they had to do after the ray gun fiasco. Number 9 will be the vault and twerk to bronze of Alicia Newman. That was, I mean, the pole vault is always a really cool event. She did a great job and, hit her best, set a Canadian record, got the bronze medal. I had to laugh though, because I did see, Reem, a couple of articles on the weekend, and it was sort of faux outrage, if you will, about her twerk after her last vault. And if you were watching it on Canadian television, you saw just a tiny bit of it, but they really didn't show it. So no one really even knew that it happened. And of course, all these people with the faux outrage saying, athlete twerks after medaling to promote her OnlyFans page. Guess what? No one really knew that there was an OnlyFans page before all this faux outrage and articles came out for it. So if you wanted to promote it, good job. That's exactly what you've done. But Alicia Newman, the pole vault, heck of a performance. Bronze medal for her. Number 8, if we're staying with bronze medals, we got to give one to our girl, Skylar Park. What a performance by Winnipeg Skylar Park, winning her bronze medal in Taekwondo, having to go through the repechage. She was phenomenal, and man, she was having some fun on the weekend. Finally, the pressure and the stress of the event was behind her. Got a chance to really enjoy the Olympic Village, closing ceremonies and all that. Can't wait to talk to her at some point when she gets back to Winnipeg. Number 7, and this was from the weekend, the silver medal for Canada in the 800 meters of Marco Arop. And Remis, that was one of the best races of the entire track and field competition in Paris. Unfortunately for Marco, he lost gold by 1/100th of a second. But still, for a Canadian to be that close to win a silver medal in one of the premier running events in the Olympic Games, pretty damn cool.
Yeah, if you want to go by numbers, 0.01 seconds is that number that you said. And Marco, coming into the Olympics, a lot of his competitors had really found another level to their game, and he kind of was falling back a bit. And you weren't sure how he was going to do to get a silver in the 800. And those running events, like the 400 and the 800, they're going as hard. 400, you're sprinting for
it's a full lap. The whole time.
And yeah, 800, I mean, they're just zero energy. You see the pain on their faces during it. Incredible Marco Arop, 0.01 seconds off a gold, getting silver. What a great moment for him and for Canada. I agree with you there.
Yeah, number 6, the sweet Canadian sweethearts, Melissa and Brandy on the beach in the women's beach volleyball, getting the silver medal. Listen, heartbreaking match. We finished the show on Friday and went right into the gold medal matchup. They had a nice lead in the first game, but ended up losing to Brazil, came back and won the second convincingly, and then just got behind early in the third and couldn't make it up. But a silver medal performance, amazing for the women. They were great. They absolutely deserved it. They achieved kind of beyond what was expected. And everybody loved the beach volleyball competition in Paris. Number 5, this was from the first week. You've heard me talk about it a lot, was our women's rugby sevens team. The incredible upset of France as a 9-1 underdog, of Australia as a 10-1 underdog, and then going toe-to-toe with the powerful New Zealand's in the gold medal matchup. We'll remember Piper Logan and her teammates as some breakout stars, and the sport itself of rugby 7 was absolutely electric. So our women's rugby sevens team cracks the top 5. Number 4 is we are a Hammer Nation. We dominated the Hammer. Gold medals in women's Hammer, in men's Hammer. Cameron and Katz, the Hammer twins, if you will. They were phenomenal. That, to be honest, could be higher considering how great the achievement was. But there's 3 other things that are atop that on my list. Number 3, and we're going to talk about this with AJ Jakubec because he was there, was the Canada-France game in the women's soccer. And I know there's been so much talk about the drone and Bev Priestman and, all the reports from Rick Westhead throughout the year, throughout the event. The guts that our women showed coming back from a 1-0 deficit against a team ranked higher than them at home with the stakes as they were that they had to win was, it was a performance that I'll remember for a very, very long time. It definitely had to be top 3. And frankly, it was tough to beat. The only 2 things that did beat that, in my opinion, was number 2, summertime, Summer McIntosh, historic performance, 3 gold medals, 1 silver medal, and really just scratching the surface. This 17-year-old, I think I can safely say that barring some crazy change in trajectory, is going to be the most decorated Olympian in Canadian history in a few years. Cannot wait to see what she does in LA. But she was the star of the games for Canada and a very deserving flag bearer, along with Katzmeyer from the hammer toss in the games. And then the final one, Remo, the highlight of the entire Olympic Games from a Canadian perspective, I think has to be that 4x1. 50-1 underdogs, all the heat with the United States, the low expectations for the team when all of the members of the club didn't qualify for the final. For them to do that in the fashion that they did, to me, was the moment of the games. And I don't know if you caught Donovan Bailey, the video of Donovan Bailey behind the scenes watching it. It was amazing. Shades of 96 with that incredible team led by Donovan Bailey, and of such a cool moment for Andre DeGrasse, who very well could be his final Olympic Games, for his final event to take the baton and come across the finish line first in that huge upset, getting another gold medal. I mean, listen, this was tough to decide between it all, but to me that stands out. But honestly, just trying to put this list together makes you realize what an amazing Olympic Games it was for Canada. And in our lifetime, we've never been a better sporting nation than we are right now.
Yeah, well said. That's a really awesome list, Hassan. Their overall totals: 9 gold, 7 silver, 11 bronze, 27 overall, 12th ranking among all the countries. And yeah, they're getting medals and gold medals in events that they haven't in 100 years, like hammer throw. Medals in pole vault. And there was some disappointments as well, but I think mostly positive. For Canada, it seemed like, a number of events, they always have, medal, starting with the first one in judo, and then it kind of gets, it feels like so far away that Taguchi got gold in judo, but it's only 2 weeks, so many events to cram in, and that's a really nice list there that you put forward, Hassan. I have to pretty much agree with all those great moments, so well done.
Now, listen, it's one thing to do it on, on the field or the field of play. Mm-hmm. In 2024, it's maybe just as, if not more important, to go viral. And there was plenty of viral moments in the Olympic Games from a Canadian perspective and a world perspective. How did you do putting together your most viral of the Olympics?
Oh, so easy to keep track of this. Like, talk to a girl seems like move over. Like, she's been passed over so many times.
How was she
now.
not at the Olympics? Or was she? She should have been on the NBC broadcast with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, she's been everywhere. Well, Snoop Dogg, I think, is certainly who would have thought, that like 25, 30 years ago, Snoop Dogg would be the Olympic mascot for NBC and did an incredible job bringing awareness to the Olympics and performing at the closing ceremonies as they handed off to LA. Got me really fired up.
Okay, by the way, just a quick question on that. Mm-hmm. That was in France?
No, that was in LA.
So how was he in? Did they record that before?
I think it was live in LA. They I don't know, maybe he took a jet to LA for that. Yeah, they had Red Hot Chili Peppers there.
I thought he was still on the air yesterday with Mike Tirico in Paris.
I didn't watch.
If anyone can fill me in on how all that worked, I was very puzzled. I'm like, wait a sec. Is this in LA? Are they doing this in like somewhere in France that he just ripped to? Because I was pretty sure that Snoop was still there in Paris chatting it up with Mike Tirico, and then all of a sudden it looked like he was back home.
Maybe it was a hologram. They got holograms now, so maybe it was virtual. Wasn't it Wolf Blitzer in a hologram once on CNN? I don't know. Maybe it was recorded. That's Big Hitter says. I don't know, but
Sixter says he left Paris early. But anyway, Snoop is everywhere, as Son of Dirk said. I've always been a fan of Snoop, and he's just one of those guys that I think, for the most part, everybody likes. I know he got paid a ton of money for this, but NBC, I think, hit an absolute home run with having he and some more of their celebrity participation in the event. But the fact that Snoop got into it as much as he did, like out there at the equestrian event with the outfit on, I mean, it was absolutely hilarious. And he continues just to move his brand into a special pantheon amongst entertainers.
Yeah, and the ratings for NBC were up massively. Like the basketball for men gold, which we haven't even touched on, was absolutely incredible. Even if I wanted France to win, I mean, you see these amazing players do amazing things like Steph Curry draining threes. And it's just so fun to watch. And yeah, I think you need that star power to draw people in, but then you get drawn to other athletes that maybe, you had never heard of. Like one of the highlights for me, non-Canadian, was this Mondo Duplantis setting the pole vault record that everyone was watching. I think his Instagram followers, I swear he was at like 600K when I first watched, and now he's over 1 million. So you have a star like Snoop Dogg bring you in, but then the greatness of these athletes keeps you there, and it's stuff that you don't see. Like I was watching pole vaulting with my son, who's 5, and he's watching. He's like, "What the hell is this crazy sport where you're going over 6 meters on a pole and falling back? This is some wild stuff there." So yeah, Snoop Dogg. Did you want me to go over these viral?
Yeah. Just quickly hit the most viral.
Well, the most viral over the weekend was Reagan, the Aussie B-girl, her performance in the breakdancing for her Elaine Bennis style dancing moves. And I think when you heard about breaking the Olympics, it intrigued you, and you want to see the top guys do flips, spinning on her head. These seemed like interesting moves. The Turkish shooter, just the casual nature, hand in the pocket, no goggles, no ear protection, just nailing a silver medal. The pole vaulter who knocked off the pole with his big dong. I don't even remember the guy's name, but I remember the act. That was
Andruzzi, I think.
That was incredible. And then Tyler Mislachuk throwing up after the triathlon. He's reposting all the memes. I mean, that was a big story too, of them delaying the triathlon to go in this river that too much E. coli, fecal matter, just nasty stuff.
It just rained. It just rained.
Well, they had to wait for it to clear, and said he swallowed too much water. I wasn't too crazy with this, but I kept seeing it on my timeline. That surfing photo with the guy holding
That
up
was
the
amazing.
number 1.
One of the coolest photos I've ever seen.
That was up there. The opening ceremonies went viral quite a bit.
Yes, they did. Yes,
my
they
favorite,
did.
my favorite part was Gojira, the metal band. That was the highlight for me. For others,
Come on, what about Celine?
Oh, yeah,
Celine
Celine
on the Eiffel Tower stealing the show.
I think there was also they were playing Sandstorm and breakdancing during that too, which I thought was well
Scott
done.
Billick endorsed.
And yeah, the closing ceremonies, as I said, Snoop Dogg. I was there for Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm a big Chili Peppers fan, but I did, sometimes I watch them and I laugh. I'm like, this is a bunch of like 60-year-old guys performing with their shirts off. But hey, they're all in incredible shape. You have to be. And then, what else did I have? This went viral in the gymnastics circle. The pommel horse guy for Team USA who sat around napping, wearing glasses, and carried Team USA to a bronze medal by only being there to go on the pommel horse. And I don't know, maybe I could throw in the Lululemon outfits for Canada went viral for the piece of bacon that it looked like. I don't know where you stood on the Lululemon attire for Team Canada. I don't think it's something I would buy. I would buy those tracksuits. Maybe not for me.
I fully endorse them.
Yeah.
I fully endorse them. I think that, and I mean, I kind of laughed too when I saw when you look away, it kind of looks like bacon. Well, you know what? Cool. I thought
Bacon's
our Canadians,
great. Yeah.
I thought our Canadians are some of the best dressed. I know they felt that way as well. So good on them. I did read a really interesting article. It was like 2 ladies that were former Lulu executives that started the swimwear brand that Brandy and Melissa wore in the Olympics. And I guess they've got a 3-year deal with Beach Volleyball Canada. But they, they had that one strap bikini to give their, more arm motion or something on their killer shots. But yeah, the viral, listen, to me, it was Ray Gun and then everybody else. I don't know whether it was the timing of it, the interest or intrigue in breaking for the first time, but certainly when it comes to being viral at the Olympics, it was Ray Gun that stole the show. Dr. Reagan, again, that stole the show. We're going to talk more Olympics right away, actually, with our pal AJ Jakubec. Don't forget, coming up in a day or so, it's going to be another edition of CFL 110 with Jeff Hamilton, who's going to join us a little later on. Of course, CFL 110 is brought to you by our friends at Garage Living Winnipeg. And ran into our pal Pat Kanuga last week at the Goldeyes game. He jokingly asked me if I needed a lift. I said, no, I had an Uber. He said, no, a car hoist. And then reminded me that in addition to organizing your garage from top to bottom and completely revolutionizing your work and play space, Garage Living Winnipeg sells hoists for your classic or special interest vehicle. Pat actually just came back from the Okanagan where he visited the distributor Performance Hoists to check out the operation and see all their products. Garage Living Winnipeg can set you up with a single or double hoist. If you've got a 10-foot ceiling, it automatically doubles your parking space. They also have smaller hoists for your motorcycle or snowmobile. So for all you sled heads out there, how great would it be to have a hoist to work on your machine instead of crawling around on the floor all winter? Give Pat a call if you need a lift or you'd like a free in-garage consultation as to what is possible with your space. It's 204-999-1234 or visit their website at garageliving.com where you can see all their great work, including their flooring, cabinets, and other storing solutions. Again, give Pat a call for a free in-garage consultation. 204-999-1234. Garage Living Winnipeg. Garages made for living. Folks, if you got a move coming up, you know how stressful moving can be. Take as much of the stress out of the moving operation as you can with the most trusted name in moving for over 60 years, family owned and operated. It's our friends at Rowley's Transfer. With their extensive logistics business, they are going through the city of Winnipeg and southern Manitoba every single day. And that means flexible routes, flexible timing, and great rates on your next move. What you're going to want to do is head over to Rollies.com. Right in the top right corner, you'll see that request an estimate feature. Let her know where and when you're moving, what you're moving. You can even upload pictures of your boxes as well as your furniture. And make sure you put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies from our friends at Rollies. For your next move, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in moving for over 60 years right here in Manitoba. Find out more, request a quote today at Rollies.com. A big thanks to our friends at Consolidated Supply and their support of WST. Been a busy summer for Consolidated Supply as the leaders in irrigation systems, artificial turf, and golf carts. As the exclusive club car dealer in Manitoba, they've got other great options for your property, including hot tubs, amazing outdoor kitchen options, the full line of Crest power tools, including the satellite-guided RTK robot mower, and of course, they are the leaders in small engine parts and repair. Pop by and see them at their showroom, open to the public, 1395 Niagara Road East, or find out more online at cte.ca. And hey, for all those tools, toys, trinkets that you've been using throughout the summer, and of course, taking advantage of these great summer weekends, whether you're on a boat, camping, an ATV, or more, you need batteries for all of this stuff. And when you're thinking batteries in Winnipeg and Manitoba, there's only one place to go, and that's Manitoba Battery, where you can shop local, get the best prices in town, beating the pants off the big box stores, and take advantage of the best service in the biz as well. Not only can you pop by and see Donnie and his great staff either on Logan Avenue at the original location or their new location on Dover Court, but if you're tight for time and can't make it in, don't worry about it. They will deliver your batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg for any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. 2 locations in Winnipeg, or you can give them a call or shop online today for all your battery needs at manitobabattery.com. All right, Jeff Hamilton coming up a little later on. Right now, though, let's find out about AJ Jakubec's incredible 10 days in Paris, the highs and lows of the Olympic Games, and getting back to work with that crazy Thursday night tie in the CFL. Here's AJ Jakubec.
AJ, what's going on? It's great to have you back on WST.
Yeah, always great to be with you, Hustler.
Listen, you got back just in time to call one of the more bizarre games in recent Canadian Football League history between the Red Blacks and Riders. We will hit that at the end, but I had to laugh, folks. I mean, longtime listeners will remember when I was at the World Cup in Qatar. Guess who I saw and was hanging out with? AJ Jakubec, who is the most committed traveler and supporter of the Canadian men's and women's national soccer teams I know. But I had to laugh when I fired up Twitter and I saw my pal AJ Jakubec talking about Paris. I'm like, what's going on? And I looked at the CFL schedule, and lo and behold, the Red Blacks were on the bye, and that gave a big, fat green light to AJ to get to Paris. How long was this in the mix?
Well, I'll be honest. My first priority this year was Copa America, and the Copa America schedule was not overly kind from a Red Blacks perspective. The first Canada-Argentina game, that epic game against Venezuela where they won in the quarterfinals, even the Chile game, I was working all 3 of those nights. So I was able to get to Kansas City to see Canada-Peru, and I was able to drive down kind of last minute when they got to the semifinals in New York to see Canada-Argentina. But 4 of the 6 games, because even the bronze medal game, I was in Edmonton, I was busy with Red Blacks. So the one thing I did notice was Summer Olympics, that bye week, 10-day break, right in the middle of it, and a perfect time, too, to see, like, I think for me, the men's basketball team finally qualifying for the first time since 2000 was a big catalyst. But track and swimming were 2 prime events that if you could go and see both, and I was able to do that, then, it was one of those things that I figured, geez, I'm going to see if I can do that. So I ended up buying the 100-meter final first before I even decided I was going. and just slowly started buying tickets. And then I guess figured, okay, looks like I'm going. So yeah, I ended up going to 12 different sports in 10 days in 3 different cities, Saint-Étienne, Lille, and 7 of the 10 days in Paris. And it exceeded expectations. It was just a phenomenal experience, just not only just to support Canadian athletes, which is a big part of what I like to do, but just to see different events, to meet different people from around the world, and to see some of the other greats. Being there for Julian Alford's 100-meter win, the first ever gold in St. Lucia history, seeing Simone Biles go at it against Rebecca Andrade in gymnastics on the floor exercise. And I fluked out. I saw Djokovic Nadal. That was a $58 Canadian ticket that I had no idea. It was literally the last ticket I bought. I had an open part of the day. I had swimming that night with Summer McIntosh winning her first gold in the 400 IM, and that wasn't until 8:30. And I thought, well, what could I see earlier in the day? Well, it'd be cool to see Roland Garros. And next thing you know, we're seeing Djokovic Nadal at center court. So it was a phenomenal experience and a little insane. Like, I don't think I had my first sit down meal in Paris until the 6th day I was there at 2 a.m. at Pied de Cochon, had a French onion soup and a dessert at 2 a.m. But yeah, all good. I'm still catching up on my sleep now, and just an amazing experience all the way around.
You mentioned a few of the things, but let's go down this roll call, because folks, this is how you do it. 10 days at the Olympic Games, and it sounds like you pretty much saw everything. I mean, can you even remember everything that you attended?
Oh, yeah. 12 different sports. So 8 different basketball games. I got all men's, got to see all the different men's teams in the round robin, 2 Canadian games in the round robin. Unfortunately, probably the most disappointing event was the last day I was there, Canada, France. And, in hindsight, look, FIBA's a different animal, and France, they showed how difficult they were to beat in the semis and the final as well. So a lot of basketball. Was there for Canada, France. The first day I got there, I made it to Saint-Étienne to see Canada against France in women's soccer. And that's honestly one of the greatest sporting events I've ever seen live, to see them come back knowing they needed a win, down 1-0 against the number 2 team in the world, on their home soil, and to come back and see Vanessa Gilles from Ottawa, who I've interviewed numerous times. She's just an awesome human being as well. See her score the winner. It was just an incredible experience all the way around. The other team sport I saw was handball. Saw 2 nights of swimming. Summer McIntosh winning the 400 IM, which was just incredible to see her blow everybody out. Then the 200 butterfly was a little bit closer, which I probably enjoyed a little bit more, just the excitement of seeing her get it done there. A couple of athletics days, 100-meter men's final, 100-meter women's final. Saw Katzberg win gold in the hammer throw. Unfortunately, another disappointment, and I just felt for him was I actually got at a day with 3 sports where I went from beach volleyball to women's soccer, U.S., Japan, to athletics at night. And because I was going to those 3 events, and from going to the World Cup, everything's on your phone. I wanted to make sure that my phone was preserved. So basically I had my phone on airplane mode the whole day. And the last I saw was Warner was winning the decathlon. So I get to athletics 15 minutes before the javelin, the 9th event. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. We're going to see Damian Warner. And all of a sudden I see a DNS on the scoreboard. And I'm like, what the heck happened here? So I felt for him, those athletes that work so hard for 4 years. You can only imagine the pain that they're going through when something like that happens. But a couple of days of athletics was great. Gymnastics, got to see Simone Biles and Rebecca Andrade go at it. The floor exercise, along with the balance beam, the horizontal bar for the men was incredible to watch as well. And parallel bars, track cycling, tennis, as I mentioned, Djokovic, Nadal, saw Leylah Fernandez win. Table tennis was really cool. a sport that I played like a ton of, not, I mean, just in my basement for years, but to see the best go at it, even just to see them warm up and kind of speed up and slow down was worth the price of admission. Rowing saw the Canadian women advance from the repechage into the final. They eventually won silver. Boxing saw Wyatt Sanford lose his semifinal bout, which I'm still a little peeved at because I felt like the judges were very pro-France in that one. And beach volleyball at the Eiffel Tower, which was as spectacular in person to see as it was, I'm sure, on television. So yeah, 12 different events. And yeah, there was really nothing I regret. I mean, there were some different sports where you thought, okay, yeah, it would have been cool to see fencing. It would have been cool to see rugby sevens, especially with our Canadian women getting to.
Oh my God, that was one of my favorite sports of the whole event, of the whole Olympics.
Yeah, it looked fantastic. I was just too busy, but like I couldn't have fit any more in 10 days. So, and if I go to LA, which I probably will, 2028, even if it's for 3 or 4 days, I'd probably limit it to 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 sports tops because.
You say that now, you won't be able to help yourself. I know you.
I swear, I can't go through something like that crazy again. One event a day is good, maybe 2 if there's like a big gap in between.
This is a guy that you did 4 games in a day at the World Cup, didn't you?
Yeah, that was 34 games in 21 days. I got to see all 32 teams. But yeah, the 4 games in one, I actually didn't mind 3 games in one day. It was the day after. So the day after Canada got eliminated by Croatia, I was down in the dumps. I was like questioning why I was staying as long as I did. I didn't necessarily want to go home right away, but I was thinking, why am I staying through to the end of the quarterfinals? And then the next day I saw 3 games in one day. And back to back, I saw Cameroon, Serbia 3-3, Ghana beat South Korea 3-2. And then later that night, it was Portugal, Uruguay. And I thought, you know what? Okay, I'm back in. I'm good. It rejuvenated me. But the 4 in one day, I only missed, I think, 18 minutes. My original plan was Argentina, Saudi Arabia was my first game. And that ended up being a huge upset. I thought, I'm going to stay for 60 to 65 minutes. Argentina's going to be up a couple of goals. And then I'll comfortably leave and get to the next game. Well, of course, Saudi Arabia pulled off the upset. So as soon as that game ended, I sprinted. Like I sprinted about 15, 20 minutes to the nearest taxi stand, got to the next stadium. And of course, you know, once you get there via cab, you got to go another 15, 20 minutes from where they drop you off. I had a buddy waiting for me at Denmark, Tunisia. I got up the stairs. I missed the anthems, but made it for the kickoff. And I was like drenched in sweat just from running. And then I did it a couple more times. Left that game in the 73rd minute, but saw all of Poland, Mexico, saw all of France, Australia, and somehow lived to tell about it.
It's one of the most incredible feats of fandom I have ever seen. And having been there and just knowing what was involved in getting from venue to venue and security. And you mentioned, you know, how big of a gap there was from where you got out to where you got in. It was an incredible feat. Let me ask you about a couple of things you went to. I want to ask quickly about the soccer. Obviously, that was earlier on, but you were at that Canada-France game. I still maintain that might be the gutsiest performance I've seen by any team in any sport. I mean, you're also a Canada soccer guy. I mean, what did you make of all the controversies surrounding the team, the way things was handled, and most importantly, the way the women battled through that 6-point penalty?
I think first and foremost, the story here is just the women. And I think they should not be viewed in a negative light at all. And I think the country is certainly behind that. They're certainly not viewed in a negative light. When I was at that game in France and talking to people at it about it. And so around the world, the players are not viewed in a negative light, and nor should they, and nor should their performances in the past and in the previous, 12 years, winning those 3 medals and of course gold in 2021, be tainted. So I think they proved exactly what they're about, exactly that they didn't need this nonsense. I mean, the way I view it, as someone that has covered professional soccer and professional hockey, this is not professional football. It's a different type of game. It's very similar. This would be like somebody taping a practice for a morning skate at hockey. Like, what are you going to learn? You're going to learn a little bit in terms of tendencies and special teams and that sort of thing. But for the most part, it's a waste of time. It's like a 0.02% upgrade in terms of the knowledge that you gain. And to me, it just shows the ego and arrogance of both John Herdman, who clearly started this culture of spying, to Bev Priestman, who decided she was going to continue doing things this way. And it's disappointing. To me, that's not the way things should be done. I know there's other countries around the world that have been accused of doing this, but there's other countries that don't do this, and we shouldn't be doing this. So,
did anybody else care? Like, I know there's been a lot of hand wringing here in Canada, and the reports. I mean, like, every time the team was about to play, it was like, oh, the under-17 men used a drone against Costa Rica. I mean, like, kind of at a certain point, it was like, we get it already. But I don't know, from what I saw, like, I didn't see a lot of people around the world kind of rallying against Canada. It seemed like we were more embarrassed and kept on beating it down here than it kind of resonated elsewhere.
Well, there was some bad comparison. The Ben Johnson comparison was one that
that was outrageous.
And look, I'm pissed at Herdman and Priest because these women didn't deserve to be stained like this.
Yes, they brought the program into disrepute.
Yes. And in my mind, the women haven't been. But to me, I think Herdman, I don't think Herdman should be coaching in this country, quite frankly.
I was just going to ask you. I mean, do you think there's sanctions coming from John? Now, can FIFA do that and have it affect MLS employment? And then I guess the question is TFC comfortable with him being their guy going forward?
Yeah, I mean, that to me, it's the latter for me, is just because he brought shame here when there shouldn't have been shame. Like, this never should have happened in the first place. And especially just, again, to me, it's just ego. It's coaches, and you've been around enough coaches. Coaches thinking that they're the ones that can make the biggest difference, when in the end, it's the players that always make the biggest difference. I mean, coaches do make a difference. I'm not saying they don't. I've seen it from, no better example for me than Dave Smart leading a program to 17 national championships on the men's side and a couple on the women's side, whether he was coaching or director of basketball operations at Carl. So there's no doubt coaches do make and can make a difference. But in the end, in a sport like soccer, it's still about the players. And to me, this is just the ego of two coaches that thought they were making a bigger difference than the players on the pitch. I don't think it's a big deal, but it's not as big a deal as some people are making it out to be. I do think, I don't think Herdman should coach in this country again. I don't know if FIFA's going to sanction him, because it feels like a lot of the sanctions came from what they uncovered themselves, not the journalism that happened after the fact from Rick Westhead from TSN, for example. So I don't know. Well, I guess we'll wait and see what's to come next. But to me, I don't think there should be any more punishment from Canadian standpoint. I think the only thing is does MLSE want to have someone like this who brought disrepute onto our country for no reason? Do they want to have someone like this continue in that role? And to me, like, if I was a TFC fan, I would be Herdman out. Get the hell out. I don't want you as part of my club.
Not to mention they're not playing very well either, which
that doesn't help. Probably not coincidental either.
Yeah, it's one thing that if you're rattling off wins every time, it makes it a more difficult decision, but that is certainly not the case right now with TFC. AJ Jakubec is with us, back from Paris. Just before we get to you resuming your duties as the voice of the Red Blacks in the Canadian Football League, give me, what were the top three things that you saw in like if you had to rank your favorite events or the things that were the most momentous, I imagine the 100 meters, just with being the spectacle that it is, would be right up there. But now that you're back, I mean, what was the best?
So that Canadian win over France was right up there. The two Summit McIntosh golds were certainly up there. The hammer throw gold as well from Ethan Katzberg was incredible, because I mean, I don't know a ton about the hammer throw. I knew that he was number one in the world. You're seeing everyone throw around, but somewhere between 76 and 80, and all of a sudden he comes up for his first throw and he just destroys everybody. So that was worth the price of admission in itself. I think, the 100-meter men's and women's finals were fantastic. Again, just to see St. Lucia win their first gold with Julian Alford was awesome. And then how close it was, and just how still that stadium was for the 100-meter men's final. The energy, but then how still it was, and then the start. And it's one of those things, like, I know everyone's kind of viewing it on their phone and taking pictures. And I took a picture at the start line and said, no, I'm enjoying this. Because, like, how often do you get to see something like this? And no regrets. It was phenomenal to see live and in person.
Speaking of 100 meters, I know you weren't there for it, but the 4x1 gold might be the medal that stands out for me the most. I mean, I asked the Coolbet guys afterwards. I'm like, hey, what was the number on Canada for that? They were 50-1, AJ.
Wow.
I mean, this, like, in the realm of upset gold medal wins in any sport, this might be the biggest one of the entire Olympics. Very, very cool to see Andre DeGrasse get another medal. Ty Penny-Alexiak is the most decorated Canadian Summer Olympian. And all of those guys who had disappointing individual rounds coming together for the race of their lives.
Yeah, and for me, like, if I think of favorite Canadian sporting moments, and there's a million hockey ones, whether, I wasn't alive for 72, but, I was 12 for Gretzky to Lemieux in 87. And, I funny story about 2002 in Salt Lake City. I was broadcasting U of A basketball and Golden Bears and Pandas, and the Pandas were in Regina for the playoffs, and they lost in 2 straight, and we're coming back on that Sunday, and it's a gold medal day. And I had this little TV that we watched in 2002, the women's gold medal game on the bus down, but it was in and out. And so when we got to Lloydminster from Regina and the game was about 15 minutes away from starting, I wasn't taking any chances. I got off that bus and I watched at a Boston Pizza in Lloydminster, Joe Sakic scoring, and of course, Iginla and everything that happened in that gold medal game before taking the Greyhound home. So that's another one of my favorite moments. And the reason, and of course, the golden goal and both the women's wins over the U.S. as well. So there's a ton of hockey ones. But when I think of like other great Canadian sports moments, like the 4x1 that they won in Atlanta is right up there for me, along with Donovan Bailey's win. But that 4x1, I remember we went into downtown Edmonton with a Canadian flag after they won with Robert Esby, Glenroy Gilbert, Brody Surin, and then Donovan Bailey. And we celebrated with a Canadian flag with the fact that they won the 4x1. So to think that we won it again, we've won this thing twice, is an incredible achievement for our country, who are supposed to be a winter sports country. And here we are winning one of the showpiece events of the Olympics. And that to me is so cool because, again, track and swimming, it feels like those are always the showpiece events, and they have them opposite weeks for a reason. And to see Canada win 8 medals in swimming and Summer McIntosh winning 3 gold, and then to see what we did in athletics, the double hammer throw, the Marco Moreau silver medal, the 4x1, the Alicia Newman pole vault bronze. I mean, that's 13 medals in major events where everyone in the world is battling in those events. So it's cool to see where Canada's at. I feel like we're at a peak right now when it comes to sports, and you look at
in our lifetimes, for sure.
Yeah, you look
doubt
at how
about
we're
it.
competing in soccer and basketball and tennis and all these different sports. I mean, football is another big sport here, and we've got more Canadian NFL players than we've ever had. So it just feels like, yeah, I mean, hockey is still number one here, and it's our lifeblood, and we're still right up there. I mean, we'll see what the next couple of years brings in terms of best on best hockey, but it's so cool just to see us compete right at the highest level in the biggest sports around the world right now. It's fantastic to see. We're not just a hockey country, we're a great sports country.
No, and the wins are coming. I couldn't agree with you more. Hey, listen, when we were in Doha, Qatar, I mean, the games were super fun, but it was a very different culture. I'll just put it that way. I mean, that was you're not rocking like you would be in North America, or I'm sure Europe. I just want to ask you about like everything that we saw from Paris, and I thought the broadcasts, both in the Canadian and the American stations, was brilliant. It really did seem like it was just an absolutely incredible atmosphere. I mean, we talked about the events you've been, but just quickly, what was it like being in Paris in the middle of the Olympics with everyone coming together? I mean, I knew how cool it was to see people from around the world for the World Cup, although there wasn't massive beer gardens and parties really that were around it. It certainly seemed like that was part of the fun in Paris.
Honestly, it was probably quiet versus, like, I haven't been to Paris since I was 14 years old. But I went to Rome last year, and I hadn't been to Rome since I was 14 years old either. And Rome was an absolute zoo. Paris, compared to Rome last year, and I went in March, the summer is supposed to be a pretty busy time to go. It's like a lot of people avoided Paris and a lot of locals left Paris. Like, there weren't a lot of big lineups to get in restaurants. There weren't a lot of, I mean, I wasn't going to the Louvre. I saw the Louvre on the outside. Hey,
You're at table tennis.
No, table tennis was in the south.
Or I just mean, whatever. You'd had no time for the Louvre because there was a table tennis match, maybe some rowing coming up, a soccer game.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of time. I mean, there wasn't a lot of time for sit-down meals and that. But towards the end, I started to have a little bit more time. Like the last day, I ended up selling. I had all four quarterfinal games. And by the end, I was so exhausted. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm going to see Canada. I'm selling the other three. I don't need to see these other teams again, and no regrets. It was great. And so it was nice to actually kind of do a couple of things that day that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise when I had multiple events every other day. And many days I had multiple events in different cities. So, but I did find it, like, it wasn't like bars were packed and restaurants were packed. Like it's not like it was dead, but it was just a lot more quiet than you would have expected. So
I'm sure that was welcome. I'm sure that was welcome as opposed to being in the midst of the circus and the chaos. And I think you would just assume that would be the case.
For sure. And in terms of just how the French supported it, like, they were fully behind it. And almost to a point where by the last couple of days I was getting annoyed because, seeing Wyatt Sanford lose in that environment to a French fighter, and then seeing Canada lose to France in the last day. Like, I'd heard
the advantage was real.
Oh, it was. And I'd heard Allez les Bleus enough that I was screaming for USA chants. That's how annoying Allez les Bleus got to me by the end. But no, they were behind it. And one of the cool stories, I mean, Léon Marchand, who won the 5 gold medals. I mean, you knew when he was swimming. I was fortunate enough to see him swim one semifinal on one of the nights I was there to watch Summer McIntosh, but never saw him win a final. But I was at USA South Sudan. I was at a train station. I was at another event. Like, I was at multiple places when he was swimming for gold. And it all of a sudden, like, US South Sudan, there's like 6 minutes left in the game, and all of a sudden the place is going nuts. And I'm like, what am I missing? Like, is LeBron doing something on the bench that I'm missing? Is Steph, like, waving to the crowd? Is Snoop Dogg here? Like, no, everyone was on their phones watching Marchand swim for gold. So, and experienced that in a train station once and a couple of other times as well. It was they were fully into the French athletes, but definitely fully into him. He was bigger than Mbappe, bigger than Wembanyama. He was the star of the Olympics in France.
AJ Jakubec is with us. You normally know him as the voice of the Red Blacks, and it was off the bird and back to work. And you got into the booth on Thursday night, fresh back from your Olympic experience, and called, honestly, one of the most bizarre games I can remember in the Canadian Football League. How did it look from your vantage point with all the chaos with the command center? For the record, I thought they got both calls right. But it was a very strange way that it all came about, and people are still talking about it right now. The walk-off tie in the nation's capital.
Yeah, I mean, only in the CFL. That was a classic only in the CFL. I mean, I heard from people texting me saying, oh, it's a tough loss. I'm like, no, it ended in a tie. Like that's not ideal. So honestly, it deserved to end in a tie. I don't know. I'm sure there's probably people on both sides that think they got screwed and maybe they should have got a win. But in a game where I think that offense was 321 to 313 and the turnovers were 5-4, both teams should be thankful that they got a tie. That's the way I look at it. I'm frustrated by the command center. Like, if you told me that pass interference call against Elijah McGee was happening consistently each and every week, then I'd be behind you. But it's not happening each and every week. And it's spin the wheel of let's see what it's going to land on to see what the command center is going to decide on, because there was a pass center, and every team in the league can do this. So like, this is not a complaint about Ottawa. Their record is 5-2-1. Their record should be 5-2-1. There was a game earlier this year against Montreal. Alouettes go down, score on the first drive. It's 7-0. Jalen Ackland got interfered with certainly more. There was contact and more and earlier on Jalen Ackland in that game against Montreal as he got hit. Ball came loose, intercepted. Montreal goes down and scores a touchdown. It's 14-0. Essentially, it was game over 2 series into that football game. But and that didn't get overturned. And if that's the standard, then let it be the standard. But why are we 8 weeks later? Why are we calling that pass interference? That's the frustrating thing that I have with video review. To me, I actually feel like the NFL's got it right. And I get, much like Matt Duchene, you remember when Matt Duchene was 6 feet offside and we had to change all the different rules about offside? Like now we're looking at millimeters and is skied off the ice. And it's the same with pass interference. We're talking about bang plays. And I feel like, okay, we know about Saints-Rams in the NFC Championship game and how the Saints got screwed and how it should have been pass interference. But like, we get how many of those types of calls, like egregious, horrific missed calls, do we get in a year? Like, you could probably count them on one hand. There's other missed calls, and I'm not saying they should do away with instant review or video review completely, but I just feel like there's too many things that are subjective, and pass interference is shown, much like goaltender interference in hockey, much like handball and VAR in soccer. It is shown that it's not conclusive. It is not. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is in any of the sports. I mean, I think I know what pass interference is, but every week the command center seems to come in and tell me that I don't know what pass interference is.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a lot of Winnipeg people that are listening to this going, yeah, I think I can remember a similar situation in the Toronto game on that ended up being a pick 6 off the Dembski play. What about that? No one's ever going to always be happy, but we will all be happy that we enjoyed the 22-22 double overtime walk-off tie between Ottawa and Saskatchewan in Week 9 of the 2024 Canadian Football League season. What an event that was. AJ, listen, I could talk to you for another hour. I know you got a show to do and whatnot, so thanks so much for jumping on. Congratulations on once again raising the bar for incredible sports trips. Can't wait to hear where you go next. But have a great time in the booth this week, and keep up the great work, and let's do this again soon.
Well, the next one's 5 days and 2 games. LSU, Oklahoma, Saints, Rams in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. So that one won't be as crazy and insane in terms of running around to different events, but I'll probably enjoy it every bit as much. Death Valley at LSU has always been. I'm an Auburn fan, and I've seen a game at Jordan Hare, but to see a game at Death Valley, I think I don't get to enough because of the CFL schedule and stuff. Don't get to enough of those games down south, but hopefully I have some good stories from that one to tell as well. Both
That'll be great.
Pre and post.
I know Death Valley well. I'm using LSU in my CFB 25 Dynasty season right now, so nice. I'm really getting. I'm even more excited for you now, seeing that intro every time I fire it up. AJ, we'll talk again with you soon. Thanks so much for doing this today, pal.
Anytime, my pleasure.
All right, big thanks to AJ for jumping on the program today. I could have talked to him for another hour, frankly. I'm so interested in everything about the Olympic experience, and no one packs more in than AJ. Anyways, great to have him back, and of course, he'll be back in the booth for the Red Blacks this week, going to Calgary on Thursday to kick things off in the Canadian Football League. Hammers coming up. Of course, we'll be talking Bombers. And all of our Bombers presented in part by Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Bombers, and of course their home at Princess Auto Stadium, and the place where you'll find the most best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Founded in Winnipeg, headquartered in Winnipeg, and with 2 locations to serve you on Panet Road and Portage Avenue West. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365. at princessauto.com. Well, what a weekend it was. Absolutely gorgeous. I went to, shout out to my pal Michelle and everyone that organized and participated in our big cornhole tourney yesterday. Great day for that. And it was a great day to take in the sun with a few ice-cold Canadian Club and ginger ales, pre-mixed cocktails in cans. You know, there's some people hitting the suds, but there was also quite a few CC and gingers in the mix yesterday. And I can tell you, when you're looking to change it up a little bit for an incredible summer drink, Canadian Club and Ginger Ale is a perfect cocktail to get you through some of these hot summer days. And of course, as I mentioned, it's already done for you. Pre-mixed, ready in cans, available at your local Manitoba liquor marts, along with all the rest of your favorite Canadian Club products, and you can also pick it up at your local beer vendor as well. Of course, Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, available throughout Princess Auto Stadium, along with CC and Ginger. One thing I hope you didn't have to do all weekend was build a fence. And if you do have needs for building a fence, might I just direct you to the experts at Wallace & Wallace, the leaders in fencing and overhead doors, serving residential and commercial customers since 1946. You've seen their fences and trucks all over the city. Hey, listen, if your property needs the security and protection of a new fence, or if winter banged up your old one, they've got you covered with vinyl, ornamental, welded wire, chain link, or wood fences. And of course, if you do need a garage door, they have Winnipeg's largest selection of overhead garage doors. Give Wallace & Wallace a call, 452-2700. Their team will arrange a time to come out and give you a free estimate. You can also visit them at wallacefences.com or pop down to their showroom on Lawson Crescent off of Kenniston. And hey, I don't want to sound the alarms, but we do know it's August, and we know what that means. Labor Day is coming up, and then it is the fall. And well, what can I tell you? We're going to be needing to dress it a little differently come fall, more events. And bottom line is, if you're looking in your closet and realize that you need to up your menswear game heading into the new season, you'll need to get on down to F Apparel right now and get on that. They've got a great deal, by the way, for August, 25% off any 3 shirts. But they've got custom suits beginning at just $400, along with chinos, golf pants, and those custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and an incredible selection of menswear accessories. Speaking of deals, 15% discount for wedding parties. So if you're getting married or one of your friends is and you're in the wedding party, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about that 15% discount when you get your suits at F Apparel. Shirt sale on right now. Pop by and see him, 190 Smith Street, downtown. Find out more online or make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F. That's EPHapparel.com. All right. Another weekend in the books, but our first weekend of the year where the Blue Bombers weren't playing. They'll get back to practice this week, getting ready for the BC Lions. And Jeff Hamilton, my co-host of CFL 110 here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, and always writing in the Winnipeg Free Press, joins us now. What's up? How was your last few days?
Huss, it felt like the last few days of my vacation, as you noted at the top of the show. Beautiful day to end it, obviously, yesterday, but mixed feelings as I return to work tomorrow after a 10-day absence. I was fortunate enough to head out to the Family Lake, which is about 90 minutes outside of Ottawa, towards Smith Falls, if anyone knows that area. Certainly took in the mood there and atmosphere at Kingston after that, then Ottawa, and then wrap things up with a couple days naturally in Montreal to wrap up what was an awesome, barely thought about work outside of CFL 110, which, by the way, Haas, I think we're looking pretty smart here, just absolutely taking the command center to task seemingly a week early. But certainly, we'll have lots of fun stuff to talk about this week too.
Funny you say that. I was doing the lock shop with Dusty today. And by the way, shout out to him. Like, we joke about, guys that are hardworking. He legit is the hardest working guys in sports media.
No question.
He called 14 games at the Hlinka tournament last week, along with a CFL game this weekend and 2 last weekend. The guy's an absolute machine, and then was back on EST at 6 a.m. today, back on with me in the lock shop. But he's a big fan of the CFL 110, and he was mentioning to me on the lock shop today that he had to laugh because he was listening to it after Thursday's game. And he was listening to our big bit about
that's the beauty. That's the beauty of these shows, Hassan. I'm guilty of it myself. I listen to a lot of other podcasts out there, CFL and otherwise, and that's the beauty of these kind of shows is the drama can still be talked about with the games, ongoing. But yeah, certainly. And, I'll add one thing to the Dusties, if we're, his parade of compliments here. Also a guy who doesn't have more fun than anybody else. A guy has the most fun out of anybody in this entire industry, does a wonderful job on the CFL and, his hockey calls and future's bright with him. He's just a motivated guy, loves talking sports. So any opportunity to listen to him, certainly to talk to him, is one I don't like missing.
Oh, yeah. And as Remis has mentioned, and thank you very much for doing that, Michael. If you are able to, even if you're getting it on like the YouTube channel, if you could help us out, and if you go where you get audio podcasts, subscribe to CFL 110, and if you can give us a nice rating and a little review, that always bumps it up a little bit and makes it, I guess, exposes it to some more people. So
let's just keep doing it too, to a certain degree. We don't do it for the accolades, but attention matters in these kind of things, and we love hashing up the CFL. So if it's giving a thumbs up, if it's sharing, let people know. People who are family members, friends, people who you talk CFL with the most. I mean, you might be using it as your secret weapon in office talks and whatnot, but share some of the love to the people who you aren't around the water cooler with for those moments.
You know it. No, listen, I want to save most of our bullets for CFL 110 this week. But with the Bombers on the bye, couldn't have gone much better for them when you think about it. BC loses, Calgary loses, Saskatchewan ties, and all of a sudden, the Bombers, after that incredibly stunning 25-0 whitewash, 10 days ago here in Winnipeg, find themselves right back in the thick of things. I mean, still a lot of work to be done, but the West, which looked like there was 2 teams, a huge gap, and everyone else, well, neither of those teams have won in 3 weeks either right now. Edmonton's winning, Winnipeg's winning, Calgary's winning if they're at home and losing if they're on the road, which has been the pattern all season long. And there's going to be a pretty interesting second half of the season, I think, Jeff.
You know what the season's feeling a lot like, Huss? A CFL game, where it just changes in a moment's notice. Something can happen where it can catapult a team up the standings, much like you mentioned, the BC Lions losing 3 straight. I don't think anyone had that on their bingo card. They're now back in the mix of the playoffs. So I mean, certainly in a good position at 5-4. Which is not something we would be saying midway through the season when you're talking about the West Division. So it looks like the only team that's really taken the bull by the horns, if you will, is the Montreal Alouettes, currently sitting at 8-1 on the season at the halfway mark, and really the only team that seems all that threatening and impressive. Additionally impressive at the fact that they haven't had Cody Fajardo for the last 2 games and was hurt early on in that 3rd game ago. So the fact that Montreal's kind of setting the pace here. And the rest of the league is trying to figure it out, bodes well for the teams like the Edmonton Elks, who have suddenly gone on a bit of a surge here to be 2-7 and then back in the mix, or the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who remained idle and are at 3-6 and are also back in the mix. As you mentioned, Calgary not playing well on the road. That's been a theme across the CFL. We'll get to these topics on CFL 110, but it's been tough sledding on the road for almost every team that isn't named the Montreal Alouettes, including the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are also 0-4, winless, away from Princess Auto Stadium. So it's certainly, it really does feel, Huss, people talk about we're not quite there. We still have a couple more weeks before Labor Day, but it really is starting to feel true to form that the real season starts after Labor Day Classic, and that's the way things are trending as we hit towards Gulp September, as you're teasing, by the way, stuff after the summer. Are we there yet, Huss? Are we there? It feels like we're there for football.
Not looking at this forecast this week, definitely not. But again, it is reality. And hey, I'm here for it. I was watching NFL preseason on the weekend. I kind of came back from the fishing trip to Aikens, and once the date starts with August, it becomes fantasy football season. And then of course we get into NFL post Labor Day, and obviously really looking forward to heading to Labor Day. By the way, for Mark Amph, Keith Dirksen, Scott Westman, Joey Panks, Kurt Schimke, Brent Waters, and Derek Morley, we will be doing that marble race at the end of the show today to find out who's winning that trip with us to the Grey Cup. So stick around for all of that. You know what? One thing that, like just as far as the Bombers go, listen, I know Willie J got to Puerto Vallarta. I mean, I think a lot of guys, because of the timing, they had the early game, they had the bye, and now they have the late game this week. Probably the one opportunity the whole year, and perfectly at the midway point to really legit get away. But most of the guys, I'm sure, will be back now, getting ready for practice. The Bombers know what's at stake here, and they also know the opportunity they've got. I mean, I don't think we'll see Vernon Adams next week, which means after crushing this team here at home, they'll have the opportunity to beat them, win the season series head-to-head against them, and move back to 4-6 right now. I would suggest, and I'm sure Mike O'Shea feels this way, that all the good that came out of that game probably would be lost if they come up with a poor performance in BC this week. But never mind the VA situation, the way that they played in that game on Thursday has given them confidence, has got to give them some momentum. And listen, it's not going to be an easy tilt, but they do have a great opportunity at their hands to kind of move past a really ugly first 2 months of the season and get legitimately right back into it if they can win on Sunday night.
Yeah, this week is significant, something that I don't think we would have been talking about a month ago. That, as you mentioned, Huss, this is the season series, right? This is the rubber match, if you will, after losing by a couple points earlier in the year at home and then dominating, of course, the Lions, a couple weeks ago, a 25-0 score. It all heads to Vancouver to decide who the winner of the season series will be. And I'm with you. I don't think we're going to see Vernon Adams this week. I just don't think it's an injury that you miss, one game with and then return. Just the way that Rick Campbell was talking, the way the reports seem to be coming out of Vancouver. You don't call a guy week to week and then he misses, just one game. If he's missing one game, you usually word it, he's coming back. It's not as bad. He won't be playing this game, but it's not as bad as everyone thought. Now it's not month to month, so maybe it isn't as bad as maybe the BC Lions feared, but it's been tough sledding for the Lions without Vernon Adams, and it's not just this season. It seems like every time he's out of the lineup, like any team who loses their number one quarterback, it's tough sledding. I use that because that's the case for seemingly everybody minus the Montreal Alouettes. But even what's happening over there, I mean, it's not an easy go. You want your leader in there, you want your guy in there, and Vernon Adams helps erase a lot of issues on that offense. I shouldn't say a lot of issues. They were the number one powered offense 2 weeks ago. But the issues being an offensive line that just looks a lot better with Vernon Adams behind center and his ability to evade pressure, to escape the pocket and to extend plays. Jake Dolegala just doesn't have that running threat. And, it's interesting to see how he performed this past week. He did nothing to, really create fear in relief in that fourth quarter against Winnipeg. I think he attempted 3 passes, had one, did look nothing. I mean, mind you, it was obviously a small sample size, just 1 quarter, but looked nothing like the guy who had come in the previous year to earn victories over BC and Winnipeg, 2 teams that were flying high at that time. I just don't look at the BC Lions as a threat. You look at some of the injuries that they suffered. Halata couldn't finish the game. You had a couple guys that are just banged up in that group, and it's proving to be an issue. Vernon Adams, like Justin McInnis. What happens to Justin McInnis when Vernon Adams isn't in the lineup? It's like that guy went from potential MOP caliber to somewhat non-existent. I mean, that's saying something, right? When we were talking about Justin McInnis and Vernon Adams as front runners for that MOP award by the end of the year. But I think Winnipeg finds himself in a prime situation. I saw Shane Gauthier on my flight home on Saturday. I imagine that was probably the deadline for the boys. After being able to leave Friday or whatever, they would have got a full week to themselves. So yeah, certainly a time to get away from the game, get away from football, get away from the grind, get away from that every single day, having, your schedule figured out, having to put in those extra hours that we know a lot of the guys do. And so exiting from that, but making sure that you're still doing work. That was the message from Mike O'Shea at the end of that victory. As I asked him what this could mean for his team moving forward, whether it's an injection of confidence, whatever it might be. And he said absolutely nothing will come of this week unless we put in the work over the bye week. And that means taking care of your body. That means eating right. That means doing whatever, this is a phrase that Mike O'Shea loves to say, doing whatever you need to do to be right for when you return. So we'll see how the week is, the week has been for the team. We'll see the players, I'm sure, enjoyed the breakaway from all those things I just mentioned. And but it's back to business, back to fighting for that spot. In previous years, used to be kind of coming back and returning to your position on top of the West Division. In this case, of course, that's not the case. And the Winnipeg has a lot of work to do over these next few weeks, has some tough competition ahead of them. Of course, we know the BC Lions are coming up here on Sunday in a very difficult place to play in BC Place. And after that, including 2 games against the Saskatchewan Roughriders and, the Labor Day matchup.
And then a home and home against the Elks.
And then a home and home against the Elks, another team that's playing for their playoff
one
lives,
game
right?
one game back of Winnipeg.
You'd think the Elks aren't looking at the Bombers and going, this is our opportunity those weeks to find, leapfrog some teams here in the West Sandies and get into a position for a playoff position. Again, one that seemed entirely impossible for Edmonton even a week ago, all of a sudden has this confidence. So we'll see what happens here. But the Bombers have a great opportunity here. They know, this is kind of where I feel their leadership and their experience comes into play, is not making, these moments too big and just continuing on week to week. And we'll see what happens here. I think the Bombers come back rested. We'll see if they come back prepared.
Well, and listen, as I've said before, they made about a season's worth of mistakes in their first 8 games. So maybe they got those out of the system and can be more like the team that shut out BC to get their 3rd win of the season. One thing that we'll be watching, and we'll talk about it more on CFL 110, this Friday night game between the Riders and the Alouettes. Sounds like Trevor Harris was taking number 1 reps this week, today for Saskatchewan. And you can only hope that it's Cody Fajardo who is there. Fajardo, Harris, between those 2 teams, a battle of 2 first-place teams right now would be phenomenal. One other thing that we can probably get to a little bit maybe, but I'll just touch on right now, coming out of the NFL preseason weekend, was Nathan Rourke, who went 3 for 13 in preseason action for the Atlanta Falcons and was cut yesterday. I do want, last year we talked about just how brilliant he looked in the preseason and how many heads he turned. There were probably some heads turning in a different way. And again, it's tough. He hadn't been there that long. You get thrown into a game. You don't know the guys that you're playing with. But I do wonder, I mean, with opportunity so fleeting for a guy like Nathan Rourke, whether this might change things as far as what his path is for the next few months, like assuming that this year was 100% going to be devoted to finding NFL playing time and then reevaluating after the year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it doesn't add an interesting wrinkle to this whole equation. I think a lot of people were surprised by the deal, just with what's going on with the Falcons, of course, with Kirk Cousins drafting a guy in the first round. Heineke and him were going for that third spot, which I think, maybe in some way, somehow, would have been an ideal situation had he played better. I felt, I watched a bit of that game. I felt that Rourke, kind of got screwed over a little bit with some drop passes, including one in the end zone that, could have certainly helped out some of those statistics. Also had a couple good runs, threw a couple good balls, but that's kind of where it, kind of life of the NFL. Whereas for a return, potential return, that seems to be the narrative or the big story every time, action happens with Nathan Rourke, especially a release from an NFL team. People seem to think, he's going to be on the next flight back to Canada. And, the narrative really over the last few weeks is who's going to give this guy $1 million a year, like who's going to, cover his, buy him a house or do all these things. I don't think that's necessarily in the equation just yet. I do think Nathan Rourke will exercise all his options with the NFL right through to the start of the season. So anyone who's keeping track of that, we're talking about a few weeks here, obviously after Labor Day, the NFL starting to get going, injuries happen. This goes well into October. What I think would be intriguing, I really, really, really think the odds of a Nathan Rourke return to the CFL are less than 2%, less than 1%, maybe even
like for
0% for this season. Yeah, for this season. However, when you throw in, I'll use the word wrinkle again, the fact that the BC Lions are hosting the Grey Cup this year, the fact that they haven't been doing as well this season. When you look at Adams' injury, is it worse than what first thought? Or if he does come back, is there potential for him to get injured again? And what does that look like? What we all know, the Lions are not the same team without Vernon Adams behind center. So all those things kind of create this intriguing possibility that maybe if you come back at the end of this season, we'll really sprinkle in that money over the next couple of years and sign you a couple-year deal. But, again, all that sounds great. I really do think the landing spot's BC. I don't think he's coming back this year for anybody else but the Lions. And we'll see what his future holds. But at this point, I mean, all signs, all reports, common sense included in that would be, let's let this guy exhaust all his NFL options in his mid-20s before returning back to the CFL, where he'd be welcome with open arms whenever that might be.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the simple fact that he's a free agent right now might change things a little bit. But again, there's going to be more cuts over the course. He could be back in with another team this week.
Back with the Giants. Well, we know. They they got some injuries. They're apparently looking for another quarterback after letting go of Rourke. So who knows? That's the life of being where Nathan Rourke is in the NFL, on the cusp of a roster spot. Is, you're a journeyman. You're going wherever they want you, and you hope that more people want you for as long as possible. It's kind of like life, Huss.
Jeff Hamilton of the Free Press with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. How much Olympics did you take in?
It's funny, not that much. And I read this, I read, what was it, closing ceremonies yesterday or 2 days ago? Yesterday. So I read the closing ceremonies. I said, damn, right when I was really looking to start watching the Olympics, just because I was on vacation. Obviously, I saw a handful of stuff. And I mean, with the beauty of social media, I didn't watch nothing. Of course, I watched the Olympics, but with of course, social media and essentially delivering you every big important moment that you could imagine, whether it be in that moment or the next day or whatever. I just thought, when you look at these games, it's just a reflection of, human society, man. I mean, this whole game's like, the work, the hard effort put into these performances, some of those memorable moments, some of those moments from people from countries you didn't even grow up in, that if you just know a little bit about the story, you get lost in those moments of awe and inspiration and all those things. Then you see some of the shitty stuff about society and, people politicizing everything. And, whether it was the opening ceremonies, whether it was, the circus that was women's boxing here, all those things. So it's a mix of everything, a mix of chaos, of passion, of all those things. And, it's an exhausting few weeks, and it's an incredible few weeks. And, there's some great moments that we'll be talking about for a long time. And while I didn't watch maybe as much as I thought I would or felt I should, it was still a memorable few weeks for me and taking everything.
Yeah, I'm bummed. I mean, like Remis and I were talking about at the start of the show. I mean, we don't even know what to do in the last 2 weeks, and especially at this time with there being almost nothing on the hockey off-season beat, as everything's gone quiet. People are at the cottages or lakes or whatever. It was just amazing. You'd wake up, there'd be things that have already happened throughout the day. You'd watch it again at night. And I'll say this just from, an observer of Canadian sport. Like, I think about being a kid and watching the Summer Olympics. And I mean, Canada was an absolute afterthought. I mean, every now and then, like maybe we'll get a cycling medal, or, someone like Mark Tewksbury would get a bronze, or, something like that. I mean, we're now certainly in our lifetime at the pinnacle of Canadian competitiveness in world sport. And I mean, they did it again. We were talking about before. I mean, the over-under totals on gold medals, on medals overall, Canada surpassed, and that was with some pretty significant disappointments. I mean, Damian Warner, the men's basketball team, and we could go down on a few that we kind of thought we'd get and missed. But so many others that maybe weren't household names stepping it up before. And, to think that Canada is, I think we finished 11th overall in the medals with our population. It's, it speaks to the programs that we've put in, how serious that we've taken it, and the incredible talent that this country's producing. And
government support.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean. The programs that they put together, obviously some incredible support of some corporate partners like RBC with their Own the Podium, I think it's called, or whatever. But, I mean, it takes a lot to go into it.
At a time, Huss, I'll note, too, that certainly there's tons of work to be done, tons. But we're starting to clean up some of these organizations that we weren't, all that proud to be a part of. Now, obviously, you have Canadian soccer. They're going to go through what they need to go through here following what was a very disappointing start to the games, but at least we're starting to get, that as you mentioned, our competitiveness in sport is hitting a high, and we're also starting to become safer sport. I'm not going to say we're there, but the national organizations have been getting more and more cleaned up over the years, and they'll see more of that. So hopefully that trend continues.
You know what? Just on that, I was talking about this with Remis because his wife's big gymnastics nut, and I was kind of like, we'll ask questions about it. And we know that the horror stories that have happened behind the scenes in women's gymnastics. And I saw Simone Biles and Ellie Black. And I mean, these are women that are now on the other side of 25 competing at this event. And it really did seem 25 years ago, like these young girls, and most of them were girls when they were, performing on the biggest stage, would finish the Olympics, and it was like they could not wait to leave the sport. I mean, like the abuse and the crazy way that they were handled, I think forced a lot of them out earlier on. And now, whether it's healthier training methods, whether it's the fact that a lot of the psychological abuse that was commonplace has been turned around, it is really interesting to see these greats, and I mean, Simone Biles at the top of the list, continuing to perform year after year at such a high level. And that, as much as any of these sports, might be a perfect example of one that hit the darkest moments and the lowest of lows. And now we're seeing healthier, happier athletes. Although, I mean, of course, Simone Biles has, had her challenges with mental health in the past. But, I mean, a real positive movement for that sport, which I think almost had as much issue as any when you think about the horror stories that we've heard behind the scenes that have come out, years afterwards.
So speaking specifically to gymnastics, if you know anything about the sport, you're identified even younger than hockey. Hockey's around 8-9 years old. I know it gets younger, competitive leagues. Sometimes gymnasts get identified at 7, for high competitive, just the way that, just it's such a detailed sport with, body and shape of your body, which is, obviously, access to body from coaches, which has obviously led to, as you mentioned, alluded to, some of those darker days of the Larry Nassir, and coaches around USA Olympic gymnastics. It's, but now it's become, I think it's become educated, right? People it took that dark reality to hit the light for a lot of families, a lot of people, certainly institutions to take notice of some of these atrocities. And I'm with you. I think Simone Biles, and, if you want to call it a comeback, just her ability to excel at that age, in such difficult sport and such a, demanding sport. All sports at the Olympics are demanding, maybe outside of that Australian for the breakdancing, but yeah, I love that. Me and my siblings debate the validity over that. I think it's amazing. But I'm also the guy who believes that we should change the Olympics to random application. You get sent a note like a year or two out, and you're a random person. You're in this event, and you have to compete for 2 years, and you're just random people. I think that was just living proof that people just want to see regular people do different things. Anyways, that's the lost tangent. But I think with just the safety of sport, the education of sport, people are looking for things a lot more than they used to be. And so sport is inevitably becoming safer because it's having more people take active roles in the health of these athletes. So to see Simone Biles do what she did, to be able to perform the way that she performed, and all athletes, man, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me in these games is, I don't know how many times I've looked at an event or a sport, and whether it was one I didn't necessarily, think I would enjoy, end up thoroughly enjoying, knowing I couldn't come close in any of these sports, or even compete at the most minor level of these sports, and to see some of these athletes perform the way that they did over these last few weeks was exceptional, and a reminder of just the beauty of sport and how powerful it can be to unite us and inspire us really in life.
It's funny you mentioned that, getting average people to go and do some of the events. At the end of last week, I was mentioning that I'd like to see a new multi-sport event put together. I mean, obviously, you've got the track and field has the decathlon, the heptathlon. There's, of course, the triathlon, which is distance events for running, swimming, and cycling. But I've actually put together my Hustler Olympics modern octathlon.
Oh.
8 events.
Is this first time sharing? Have you shared this before?
Yeah, well, I mentioned the idea, but I now have the events. And
history.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how cool would this be? And again, you have this at the Olympic Games. Many of these other events, you will take advantage of the apparatuses or what's set up for the events. Like, this would be an impossible thing to basically do anywhere other than the Olympics because of everything that he has at it. Now, obviously, things like running and swimming you want to have in, but unlike the triathlon, which is like running a marathon and doing it, these will be shorter events. So it's going to be the 400-meter run, the 100-meter swim, the track cycling, which was that insane thing in the velodrome. And I didn't put a number down because I'm not entirely sure how long the track is, but it would be
not an 800-meter track?
Not this
400-meter track?
I would think it's shorter than that. It's shorter than that because it's inside.
Yeah, good point.
So again, maybe a 500-meter, something like that. We definitely have track cycling.
See my heart rate right now.
The speed wall climb, which was, where they've got that thing and those guys go up. I mean, that was phenomenal. It's a short event. I mean, the best in the world are only 5 seconds, but the speed wall climb is in. The singles canoe that they're cranking out. I mean, there was doubles, but the singles is really wild where they're just there on the one knee going for it. I mean, a great test. Table tennis, golf, 18 holes, and then badminton.
Badminton.
I think badminton would be an excellent sport that, because there are things
separate the good from the great, or what?
Yeah, well, and this is the thing, there's other Olympic sports that I considered, boxing. Or, people aren't going to beat the hell out of each other. It's kind of a tough thing to put in. Everything in gymnastics is so elevated that I don't think it would be very difficult, even for a great CrossFit athlete or something like that can do a lot of things, to go in and put on any sort of legitimate performance. So,
right.
I was looking at things
So it doesn't go straight from the badminton court to like all you can eat wings off. Like it doesn't go like straight into like as soon as you finish the points, the other person has to eat half as many wings.
I've got too much respect for the Olympic Games to do that, but I would be here for it.
Yeah.
But that sort of concept where you're utilizing like some of these great structures and everything for a wild athletic competition. The problem would be, of course, is that to qualify for these sort of things would be really different. There is a sport. And I'll give my old pal, Evan Manser, the man that gave me the nickname Hustler back in our younger days.
More history.
He was an incredible squash player. Then at one point was the top-ranked tennis player in the province. Played lots of table tennis, learned badminton, and competed in the World Championships of Racquetball, which is exactly that. The 4 racket sports, table tennis, squash, tennis, badminton. You play a match to 21 in every one of those sports, and you add up the points. Very, very interesting stuff. But
pickleball could maybe add to the 5th sport.
Well, yeah, that would be very controversial. Don't say that to tennis people.
Totally. I read a New Yorker story right at the beginning of the emergence of pickleball, and they wanted nothing to do with each other.
Ooh, Randy D with a great choice. Archery actually could be one. We could maybe bounce either table tennis or badminton for archery. I think that would be better than shooting. But anyways, and yes, Donnie Boy, you are right. Squash is in the 28 Olympics. We got squash coming up. We've got baseball, softball, flag football. It is going to be great. Hey, listen, just before we go.
No cars, too.
Yeah, I thought that we've talked a lot about Patrik Laine. He was on social media today, along with his lovely fiance, talking about a program that they're starting, supporting the conversation about mental health. I found that really interesting that he's kind of doing that right out of the gate after coming out of the player assistance program. Because, of course, the entire Laine story is certainly part of it is on the ice with what did and didn't happen in Columbus and where he goes and where he fits. But also, this is a big personal story, Jeff. And listen, I'm not going to revisit everything that we've talked about the last couple of weeks on this, but I just couldn't help but feel optimistic about him moving forward with another chance to, really establish himself. And it comes back to thinking about how great he was here in Winnipeg and what a great fit this might be, if he is trying to get back to that guy and obviously handling, everything that he's been through from a mental health perspective as well. I know it's quiet. I mean, it's not like there's been any reports on this, but just thoughts on what we saw from that, where Patrik's at, the challenges moving forward, and how that may or may not connect him to the Jets.
Yeah, I thought first off, I saw that note with him and his partner, his girlfriend, announcing I forget the name of it, you and us, or us. Anyway, sorry, just obviously that mental health initiative. I saw it this morning. Briefly, I first thought that's awesome. Obviously, anyone who's able to take advantage of their platform for good certainly would not be raining on that. But also the fact that he's obviously dealt with some addictions issues. He's been in the program with the league for some time. He just recently got cleared. It's been hard times for him. He's got a bit of addictions and history in his family. So there's, that too. And, so to see him, to launch, an initiative, that gives back and helps support people ailing with mental health problems, I think that's incredible. The fact that he's in a position to feel like he can give back, to others who might be dealing with, similar issues that he might've been dealing with. And so, I think certainly for Patrik Laine, it's a sign. It's a very positive sign. I think we often look at goals and opportunity and potential trades, and that's kind of how we speak in terms of players in his position. But you always want to look at the person first, and it looks like he's obviously done what he's needed to do to graduate the program, if you will, and certainly this is the next step in his recovery. So I have nothing but respect and wish him nothing but positive things moving forward. As far as where he lands, I think this is a really good situation for him, versus, even a few months ago, there was a lot of talk about Patrik Laine potentially not even playing in the NHL this upcoming season, just given some of the stuff he was dealing with. There was lots of talk about him maybe potentially returning to Finland for a year. I think that had a lot of teams inquiring about him and maybe backing off, just not really knowing his future. So, for him to get the clearance from the program, certainly a step in the right direction. This initiative is a step in the right direction. Just kind of shows teams that, he's available, that he's back on a healthy track. And as for the Winnipeg Jets, we all know the history between the organization and Patrik Laine. We all know about the interest from Patrik Laine and the fun he had in Winnipeg. Obviously, there were some issues at the end that resulted in him, whether he asked for a trade or whether he, helped facilitate a trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois. We know there was a rough ending, but all those people who were connected to that, a la Blake Wheeler, a la Paul Maurice, of course, are no longer with the organization. I'd said a couple of weeks ago that I felt if a move was going to be made, including with the Jets, that it would be made in and around now. I still kind of believe that's, if you're planning for the, for training camp next month, you kind of want to know, who fits where and how your lineup's looking. You're having a lot of conversations with players, telling them about, opportunity and holes in the lineup that they could potentially fit. Now, I mean, this is professional sports, so it's not like you have to keep your promises to anybody, particularly around opportunity. But, I do think as time goes on, it becomes less and less likely. But I do think it'd be a great fit for Winnipeg. I mean, I think with, certainly if you're talking to the guy running the power play now, how much he would want, a trigger like Patrik Laine. I'm sure him and 28 other teams. 30 other teams would want the same thing. So, we'll see if this is a match made. If a reunion can happen between Winnipeg and Patrik Laine, I think that would be great. I think it would, I think a lot of fans would welcome him back with open arms and look for that, root him on and have it be exciting. The other thing, and the final thing, obviously, is his salary. The guy's making, a lot of money. It was at $8.7 million per season. Something will need to be, figured out in that and covered. That's probably part of the negotiations and why something hasn't been done with Patrik Laine yet, whether it be with the Jets or someone else. But just as we get closer to September, that he's eager to get back, whether it be back with Columbus or another team. I think we're going to get a conclusion here in the next few weeks. Otherwise, I think, you're looking at him just returning back to his team.
Hammer.
A lot of emotion.
Hey, great stuff as always. I look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow. We get after it with CFL 110. Have a great one.
Yeah, right on, Huss. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure doing this each week. And yeah, we're doing it a day early tomorrow with CFL 110 just to fix some scheduling stuff. So we'll have all the top stories ready for you in your podcast library, we'll call it. Thanks
Indeed,
again.
and we'll have it coming up right after WST tomorrow on the YouTube channel as well. We'll catch up then. Thanks, pal.
Take care.
All right, there's Jeff Hamilton. Great stuff. Oh man, what a weekend it was. It was great beer drinking weather, and I mixed in a few generics. And a big cheers to our friends at Little Brown Jug right now.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Stuff from Hammer. Appreciate him jumping on. It is Monday. We're back at it after the weekend. And I'll tell you one thing I'm definitely going to be mixing in this week is a trip to Hogy Boys at 513 Osborne for the biggest, baddest, craziest sandwiches in town. My personal favorites, the Evil Morty, the Young Turk, Dr. Pepperoni, Bingo Bronson might be my fave. They're all absolutely amazing. And this is, I mean, is there a better time to get a great sandwich and maybe eat it outside in a park or take it out with you to the beach? I don't think so. So let me suggest you pop by Hogy Boys, tell them the Winnipeg Sports Talk gang sent you, and get ready and buckle up for one of the best sandwiches you've had in a long, long time. Of course, the guys from Hogy Boys are also the brains behind Cosmos Food Cantina, which is serving up incredible eats down at the Beer Can next to the Granite, right across the Osborne Bridge, along with the best selection of local beers in town. You can also get their great eats at Next Door, which of course is at 116 Sherbrooke, connected to Good Neighbor Brewing in the heart of Wolseley. Shout out to Royal Sports. Still got some time in summer to maybe start a new hobby, to get outside a little bit more. Disc golf, tennis, running, of course, soccer, softball, baseball. And hey, hockey season is just around the corner. And as you get ready to get back on the ice, make sure it involves a trip to Royal Sports, the undisputed hockey superstore in Winnipeg for over 40 years. Royals at 750 Pembina Highway. Make sure to give them a follow on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And hey, shout out to our gang at Boston Pizza. Man, we've had a few nice nights at BP over the last couple of weeks. You know, watching the Blue Jays, but also firing up the Olympics for that prime time. We will miss it, but we're back. We've got baseball pennant stretches coming up, and of course, 4 more big games in the CFL this week, beginning on Thursday. No better place to gather to watch the big game with your gang than your local Boston Pizza, ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. And hey, if you are staying at home, get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Hey, shout out to the Goldeyes. Goldeyes coming back home. And Remo, can you believe this? They are now tied for first place after this incredible road trip. You know, they went on that heater going into the All-Star break, split the next series, and have just been absolutely red hot. I think at one point they were 9.5 games out of first place, and they're back in first just in time for some home cooking, with home games beginning tomorrow night right through the weekend, including, of course, the Manitoba Social Night on Friday, where the first 1,000 fans are going to get Fred Penner bobbleheads.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see us, the Goldeyes, at the top of the American Association standings. They're tied with Sioux Falls Canaries at 46 and 35. It was a tough year for them last year. I think it's been a tough couple of years having, not able to play here for one season, bouncing around. But you're seeing the crowds come back to Blue Cross Park. They got the new manager, Logan Watkins, who seems to have an eye to bring in talent. This pitching staff, absolutely incredible. So, yes, 46 and 35. We could have some playoff baseball here. It's real tight. Fargo's behind. Kansas City is in there. So this is going to be exciting final month of the regular season here for the Winnipeg Goldeyes.
Well, and of course, the season continues. They've got this homestand. They go on the road for 6 to Fargo and KC, and then they come back for 7 at home, including 4 days against Lincoln, the final 4 games of the season over the Labor Day long weekend. And then, yes, fingers crossed, we'll get back from Regina and be ready for some playoff baseball at Blue Cross Park. But what a job Logan Watkins has done. Anyways, this is the week to get out to the ballpark. I mentioned what the forecast is like. Literally the perfect summer weather, a red-hot baseball team that's winning games more often than not, and now in first place. It is the week to get out and see the Goldeyes. 982 base for more, and of course you can get to goldeyes.com. Let me throw out, we spent a lot of time kind of wrapping the Olympics. I gave you my top 10, which finished up with the 4x100 win for Canada. I am interested for the why not question of the day today for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. What was your standout moment from the Olympic Games? Does not have to be Canadian involved. It can be your favorite performance. It can be ray gun, whatever it is. What your takeaway from the Paris Games will be and what stands out to you. Let us know in the chat for the why not question of the day. We are going to get to our picks and the Coolbet lines, and of course that marble race. Shout out to Aikens Lake, by the way. Was there last weekend, already planning for next season. If you're looking for an incredible fly-in fishing getaway where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, make it Aikens. Find out more information on 2025 bookings right now or anything left this season at aikenslake.com. And a quick Breezy Bend golf report for you. Big shout out to our pal Pat Gregoire. He had quite the week. He snagged Aaron Rye, who came from behind in the back 9 from down 4 shots to win by 2 at the Wyndham. So a big win for Patty in the lock shop with an outright on Aaron Rye. And oh, by the way, Pat got married as well. So everything coming up, P. Greggy. We'll have him on the show soon. But congratulations to him. Aaron Rye was the winner. Max Greiserman in second. JJ Spawn, Rio Hatsutuna, and the amateur Luke Clanton with the top 5 performance. We're at it at the FedEx St. Jude this weekend. Bring on the FedEx Cup playoffs. We'll follow that heading into, of course, the President's Cup in Montreal, where I will be at the end of September. Cannot wait for that. Of course, breezybend.ca for more information on Breezy, membership options for 2025, wedding rentals, and more. And if you do want more information, give the clubhouse a call. Ask for Corey Johnson. He'll fill you in on what's going on coming into next year over at one of Winnipeg's top private clubs and our home on the golf course, Breezy Bend. All right. You know, Remo, why don't we save the Coolbet lines for last, because we can do that getting into the marble race with our qualifiers for the trip for 2 with myself bombing the rest of the crew on the 1930 crew bus tour to Regina. But, by the way, at the 1930 crew, for more information, grab one of those last few spots and join us on it. But we got Assiniboia Downs to get back to, and I believe we're back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday racing. And we got a great one tonight, a big 7th race coming up. I really love that. But it's crunch time for me. I got to win some bets and try and catch you.
Yeah, I think you got a lot of time, Huss. I don't know. I'm feeling the pressure. I think I was betting loose and I kept winning. Now that I've got this lead, I'm gripping the stick a bit tight. So we'll see how it goes. There's still time left, Huss. And yeah, there's a couple extra race days because they had to miss some Wednesdays. So it's going longer. So there is time.
I love it. I love it. Let's get to it tonight because they're back at the post tonight at 7:30. And as I said, with this gorgeous weather, this is a great day to head out to the track too. This is a great Goldeyes off today. Go to the track tonight, and then you can get in for the fish coming up this weekend. I'm starting off in race number 2. Do you have race number 1?
I don't think so. No.
All right, well, let's get it going. Race number 2. I'm going with our old favorite, Call the Cops. Number 3, $4 to win.
Okay, I'm not on 2. I have 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right. Okay, me too. What do you got for 4?
4, I am rocking. 1 sec. 4, I am going with an Exacta 1/6 Exacta box, $3. I love my life. No, I won't back down.
I'm actually using those 2 horses and adding number 7, Inano Caro, for a $1 triactor box for $6. So 167 on the try. Remo 1-6 on the Exactor. What do you got for race 5?
Race 5, I'm just picking a straight winner, Sebadas to win. No.
This is a bit of the longer shot. This is the one that I really need to come in. I'm going $2 Exactor box on 2-3.
Whoa, okay.
Awfully special. And then 25 to 1, Charmingly Wit. And I'm looking at Charmingly Wit. It's the longest shot on the board. And yet 2 races ago, won at 6 furlongs. This is a little bit of a longer race, but I like the Wit horses. See if we can get a wild off the board Exactor win in this one. Now, what are you cooking up for race 6?
Race 6, I'm going with another Exacta box. Just did a mix. I'm not trying to push it with the tries. It's easier to get 2 right than 3 right, I feel like, Huss. So 3-9. Cheese my priority at 9-5, and Philly Fatale 5-1. That's my finish. 1-2, any order. Those 2.
I'm just going to win bet on number 6, Wits 10-10.
The Wit horse.
I think I put $3 exactly back to the Wits horses. Were always good to me. All right, so now race 7, and I juiced it up a little bit. we've got I'm on a 3, 4, 8 triactor box. Club Champ, Lab Rat, and Golden Eyed. And then I put $2 on number 8 Golden Eyed to win as well.
Okay. I'm going 5 on Club Champ to win. And then throwing a bit extra, another 3 on an exacta, not an exacta box, with Club Champ and Lab Rat. So I will be tuned in to this one later this evening with 10:05. This race 7 goes.
Awesome final race though. 9 horses. Exchequer, who's been good. You're on the Money has been good. Terawatt's been in the mix. Arcadian Storm. So a lot of top horses in that final one today. All right, so there are picks. If you do want to play at home, you can just go to hpibet.com and get an account. You can play Assiniboia Downs and tracks from around the world, but there's nowhere better than seeing it in person. And check out assiniboiadowns.com for information on getting a booking for that amazing prime rib buffet in the dining room over at Assiniboia Downs. All right, Coolbet lines time, and then our special marble race to give away the trip. I will be honest, it's pretty light on the lines right now. Because with the exception of Major League Baseball, there's not a lot going on. However, I do actually have a tennis pick today. We're just going to pick a favorite on the men's side and a favorite on the women's side. We've got Andrei Rublev, who's a minus 278 favorite in his matchup in Montreal. And then in Toronto, where the women are playing, Jesse Pegula at minus 204. Parlayed those together, we get plus 103. It's actually where I'm using my free bet from the UFC promo on the weekend. If you join us late, a week tomorrow, Tuesday, August 20th, is going to be our first ever Winnipeg Sports Talk, Edmonton Sports Talk Lock Shop Poker event over at Coolbet. Would love to have you all join us. It should be a lot of fun. It's going to be a $30 entry, which is actually 20 euros. Because that's what their format is set up on. And there's going to be a $100 bounty on my head and Dusty's head. And I think once we confirm Remis, there might be $50 or so on Remo and a few of the other characters from EST that'll be joining us. So link's going to be in the description. We'll throw the link out as well in the chat. And you can register now for it and reserve your spot a week tomorrow, August 20th. 9 p.m. Winnipeg time, 8 in Edmonton. Our first ever Coolbet poker extravaganza with Winnipeg Sports Talk and Edmonton Sports Talk. And I'm already feeling the heat with the bounty on my head. Some of the things that we'll be getting to in the lock shop this week, of course, the FedEx Cup playoffs. Liv's actually got a Greenbrier spot. I'm not sure we'll spend a lot of time on that. But of course, the NFL preseason well underway. And just one other Coolbet note before we transition over. I don't really pay any attention to the polls, and I'm not politically motivated on either side, so please don't take this as an endorsement of anyone. But it has been fascinating watching what's happening south of the border and following the line in the U.S. election. And a month ago or so, Trump was more than a minus 200 favorite. I think after he got shot, or the attempted assassination, he was up to minus 286. Then they moved out Biden. Then they brought in Kamala. And if you can believe this now, from a minus 286 favorite, Donald Trump is now even money. And Kamala is the favorite at minus 120. So they've also actually got, there's popular vote winner, party to win Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia. So for you political wonks, feel free to get over that. But I just take that as a far more realistic indicator of what's happening as opposed to any polls. Because, of course, if you're taking bets on it, you really do have skin in the game. So check that out if you are interested. That's also over at Coolbet. Give a run through the poker app before the big tourney coming up next Tuesday. And join us for our first ever Lock Shop WST EST Poker Open. And Remo, you know what's going to be awesome? We're going to do this first one, get feedback, see how it all worked out, if we need to tweak anything. And then I think we're going to pick between 4 and 5 dates over the course of the entire fall and winter on dates where the Oilers and Jets are off. And we're going to have a bit of a series with potentially a big prize. You know, if you win, you'll go to the final table or a final opportunity. And we're getting Pat and Jake working out. But there you can see it, the Lock Shop Poker Series right there with Nielsen and Hustler. And we'd love to have you all join us. That is coming up next Tuesday. All right, Reem, we do have one more order of business, and that is something that we don't normally do, but we've got a special Monday marble race because we have to give away 2 seats on the bus, the Huss bus to Regina, for one of our cool bettors that has been sending in entries after betting the CFL at Coolbet all year. We've grabbed 1 or 2 a week for the better part of the last 2 weeks. And, you know, we've had a number of regular cool bettors have more than one marble. But congratulations, our final 2 qualifiers was Keith Dirksen. Keith now has 2, and Derek Morley. So the way things were, the way things shook out, Markham Fanasuk has 3 marbles. So I don't know if you want to put it in as Mark Amp 1, Mark Amp 2, Mark Amp 3. Scott Westman also has 3. So Scott Westman 1, 2, 3. Cowboy Kurt Schmidtke has 3. Keith Dirksen now has 2. Joey Pankyu has 2. And then Brent Waters has 1. And Derek Morley has 1. So by my calculation, that is going to be 14 marbles in the mix. Does that sound right? I think it does. I think I
Let me confirm what you just read out.
Okay.
Someone was writing exclamation mark marbles. Don't do that.
Yeah, no. You missed the boat. You needed to be sending us screen caps of your CFL bets at Coolbet to contest at winnipegsportstalk.com. And thanks to everyone that entered. Good luck. I'm still so choked. We missed that Lock Shop Partner Parlay yesterday by a damn point on the over. 49.5. It came in at 49. I blame MVT for that terrible red zone pick, throwing it about the only place that it could have been snagged.
And sorry, you said 13?
I think 14.
Oh.
There should be Mark Amp 1, 2, 3.
Let me just check this. Yes, I have Mark Amp 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Scott Westman 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Keith Dirksen 1, 2.
Yeah.
Joey Panks 1, 2.
Yeah.
Cowboy Kurt Schmidtke 1, 2.
Yeah.
Brent Waters.
Oh, I don't have it. Thank you. Yeah.
Brent Waters and Derek Morley.
Yeah, okay, I didn't have.
Go Jets, go Demo. The Jets Pope himself.
Let me just check my email. Okay, we're good. And then what track did we want to do?
Do you want to do slippery slopes?
I was testing. I tested the dojo before. I tested. What did I test? There's a couple I looked around.
I just want to have one with not a sketchy ending.
Because we were talking about Temple of Steve, and I was like, do you really want to play with someone's emotions like that?
No, that would be a hard way to lose a trip if you were the first one across and just the thing wasn't there when you got there.
Like, I thought the dojo was pretty chill. If you want to do slippery slopes, I'm good.
Does the dojo have a regular ending?
It's pretty regular. Yeah, there's...
Okay. Yeah, the dojo is a good one. I do remember that one. I just wanted to confirm that the ending was not...
I tested the dojo. I thought it was good. It was...
Okay.
It was... I mean, Greg, if we did Temple of Steve, Gregory would be losing it in chat right now. He does not like that one.
This is not fair. This is an affront to the competitors in the event. So let's fire this up. We've got 14 marbles, 14 qualifying marbles from, I guess it was the last 7 weeks because we were picking 2 a week. And congratulations to Mark and Scott, who I think clearly sent in the most. They actually ended up qualifying 3 times. 2 each for Keith Dirksen, Joey Pankio, Kurt Schmidtke, and then Brent Waters and Derek Morley. The lucky marbles in today's race. And this is an awesome package. And this is just more great support from our friends at Coolbet. They figured there's so many Bomber fans that are jumping on our WST exclusives as well as regular CFL wagers that, we'd grab a couple spots on the bus for the Labor Day game and give away a great prize. Again, if you want more information, there are a few spots left, although I did hear from some folks the last few were getting booked up, but would love to have you join us. Go to send an email to the1930crew@gmail.com or hit them up at the1930crew on either Instagram, I guess Facebook. I don't really use Facebook, but or X. They can get you the details and squeeze you in on the Huss bus or the bombing bus and come for a great time. All right, how we looking?
Good. I like calling it X.
X, absolutely.
Just the worst name. It's destroying all the previous brand for no. Anyway, here I'm loading it up now. We have 14 marbles in. I'm gonna fire this thing up. I'm excited to see who's gonna win us. I see a couple of the chatters in here. Mark was
perfect.
Mark, Scott. I don't know if Cowboy's in here.
Right on. All right. Good luck. Yes. Good luck to everybody. Gregory. No, don't go there. Too many eliminations. Yeah. That's it. Okay. There's Mark. Mark Amp. So Mark's here. I think Scott Westman's here. Good lock shop, fellas. So here we are. We have it. There are 14 marbles again. 3 of them are Mark's. 3 of them are Scott's. 2 each for Keith, Joey, and Kurt. 1 for Brent Waters, 1 for Derek Morley. We are in the dojo. A very special WST marble race. Our qualifiers for our Coolbet CFL bet contest. All the qualifiers are in. The first marble across the finish line will receive 2 spots with us going to Regina for the Labor Day Classic. The trip includes the bus to and from Regina on Saturday morning, 2 nights hotel, tickets to the game. I'll make a point of getting some Coolbet swag for whoever wins as well. There's some great swag with the trip. Do your breakfast one day. I'm sure there'll be a few drinks included as well. So it is a great package for what should be an awesome weekend. But without further ado, thanks to Coolbet for the support and making this entire thing happen. Shout out to everyone. Do we want Tristan for this?
I wasn't going to.
I mean, it's not Friday.
People are demanding. I could do should I do the Christmas or the New Year's Eve one that we've played maybe once?
Sure. Do a bizarre. Okay, we will have a special. Here's our special intro. A random, ill-timed, the Christmas one in the middle of August probably makes the most sense, or New Year's.
Should I do New Year's? The New Year's? I haven't heard this one in so long. I don't even know if it's good. Let me just test it out quick.
I mean, if we're testing it at this point, if we're delaying the race.
Oh no, that's a bad one. It doesn't make sense. Oh my God, this Christmas one? No, we're not doing it. It's not Friday.
Yeah. I think we're vetoing it, folks.
The song starts with "It's Friday."
Yeah.
You can't play it today.
Point. That was my point.
I agree.
This is why you tune in on Fridays for Tristan Rivers music. All right, here we go. There's 14 marbles in. Maybe the most high stakes marble race we've ever had, along with Winnipeg Walters' win of the Tournament of Champions a year ago. But right now, good luck to Mark, Keith, Scott, Joey, Kurt, Brent, Derek. Who's ever first down is coming to Regina for the Labor Day Classic, courtesy of Coolbet and WST. Let's drop them in the dojo and see what happens. All right. This is interesting, seeing the who has multiple marbles in the race. I see Joey Panks is on the bottom level right now. Scott's in. All right, Scott with the nice start. Scott with a couple of them, actually, although this is very close. So, wow, Scott Westman's 2 marbles are in first place. He's battling himself. He went one side on one side on the other. And now we get into the dojo.
Oh,
Nice run. Oh, Scott, one of his marbles. Oh, and Kurt Schmidtke. 2 eliminations. Wow. Did not expect to see that. Brent Waters right now is in first, followed by Joey Pankey. There's Mark Amp. And now Keith Dirksen and Scott Westman. But it's actually Brent Waters. Oh, Brent Waters just went off. He's out. Joey Pankey, Joey Panks, is in first right now, although it kind of looked like he might have been going the wrong way. The dojo. We haven't done the dojo in a while. It is a strange one. Who's coming down first? It's very tough. It looks like Joey. Joey and Mark, followed by Keith. And then Scott and another one of Mark's. But it is Joey Pankey. Joey Panks himself. And Mark Mfanasuk going marble to marble, mano a mano. And Mark Amp now has taken the lead. Keith Dirksen coming from behind. And now they're getting held up a little bit. Will somebody from behind us? Can Scott Westman move in? Keith Dirksen is in the lead. This is Keith's to win. And Keith is the winner. Nicely done, Keith. An incredible, incredible race. Was real tough. I think was it Kurt Schmidtke had he got an elimination early. Scott Westman had his first 2 were up. One actually came in. The other one didn't. Here's Keith. And then who do we have still up here? A Kirk. Poor Derek Morley. Derek got burnt. And then Keith and Kurt are on the verge of getting burnt by the fire if they don't get down right now. Here comes Keith. And here comes Kurt. So all of our CFL cool bettors went into the dojo, and the son of Dirk himself, Keith Dirksen, with the win over Mark Mfanasuk, Scott Westman, the second Mark A. Joey Panks with 2 very similar marbles. Well back, though, 18 seconds and 20 seconds back. Scott, Keith, Joey, and then the eliminated marbles were Derek Morley, one for Mark, Brent Waters, Kurt Schmidtke, and Scott Westman. That's a hell of a way to figure out of qualifiers who wins, Remis.
Yeah, that was some crazy eliminations. I thought it was a good, fair race.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is certainly one way to pick a winner. So congratulations to Keith Dirksen. I don't know if he's in here. Oh, I think he is. I tagged him. I don't know if he's listening.
Is the son of Dirk in the house? I think he was here earlier.
He usually is, but
he may have to come back. Regardless, we'll send him an email and make this all happen. We'll get you those details, son of Dirk, and get you signed up for what should be an awesome Labor Day weekend. All right, that is going to do it for us, gang. Big thanks to all the sponsors that joined us, everyone that jumped in after the long weekend. Make sure to join us tomorrow. We will get back to it, much like the Bombers are going to get back to it. No more Olympics to talk about, but it's all systems go. Brady Oliveira coming on the program tomorrow, which should be great. We'll see how Brady's feeling post week off. And, of course, post that 25-0 win and the mindset of the Bombers heading into the rest of the season. So don't miss Brady Oliveira on the show tomorrow. And, of course, after that, we'll kick it over to CFL 110. So big afternoon tomorrow on WST. Join us on YouTube if you can. Shout out to all the podcast listeners. And don't forget, our WST EST Lock Shop poker event is set a week tomorrow, 9 p.m. Winnipeg time. Click the link in the description and reserve your spot today. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Patterson. Thanks to AJ Jakubec. Thanks to Jeff Hamilton. And thanks to all of you for hanging around. And once again, congrats to Keith Dirksen for winning the trip to the Labor Day Classic on the 1930 crew bus, along with myself, courtesy of Coolbet. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Enjoy the weather. Get outside.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at Winnipeg Sports Talk.